Steve Dangle Podcast. Powered by Sports Interaction. Wanna bet?
The Steve Dangle Podcast with your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
Last episode, we asked you a geography question. What is the difference between the United Kingdom, Great Britain, and Britain? Mm-hmm. And for bonus points, what's England in all of this anyway? Now, Jesse, Alex, it's an Italian last name, Dilatosio.
Oh. Definitely.
Nailed it. Yeah. Anyway, he sent us this graphic. The British Isles are the entire thing. The United Kingdom are the Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and England. And then Great Britain is just Scotland, England, and Wales. And now you know.
I ain't reading all that, but I'm happy for you. Sorry that happened.
And in the comments section, Lightning NC wanted you to know that the United Kingdom. I was like, maybe it was in the 1400s and England kind of took over unilaterally. The Act of Union was actually in 1707. And the way that it merged was the kingdoms, the Scottish king essentially supplanted the English monarchy. And that's how they all came together. So there's a whole, you know
what that map doesn't include? What? Guernsey, which is all I wanted.
We actually had a listener from Guernsey.
No way.
Yes, in the comments. And
impossible.
And they didn't, and they were like, I didn't expect you to mention Guernsey, but you've mentioned Guernsey before.
Okay, I need you to reach out to us because I need you to go to the archives because they've been difficult about getting back to us.
Okay.
I'm trying to find family history.
There you go.
And they've been difficult because no one lives there except for this one person who listens to our show.
That's right. I was like, wow, we have listeners everywhere.
It's like if Pickering was an island and also smaller.
So if you were to throw an all-star game, would you have an offside challenge?
Yo, go to jail.
I feel like it was a little bit tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah, but they've done the tongue-in-cheek before.
Uh-huh.
And the first time, I think we went, ha, 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 ha. And then it's happened several times since, and immediate prison. I think immediate prison.
Immediate prison.
Yeah,
okay.
I think that's the only solution, immediate Azkaban, go to wizard jail.
I have some all-star trivia for you.
Yep.
Oh.
Okay?
Hit me.
Uh-huh.
Do not blurt your answers out, gentlemen. I want you to give us... I will ask you both. Mm-hmm. Who won the All-Star Game MVP this year?
No idea.
Steve, no idea. Jesse?
I will say Vasilevsky.
Okay.
So the Atlantic won the All-Star Game.
Correct.
So I'm going to go with Barkov. No. Kachuk.
You got it.
Yes.
Oh,
I know, like the down guy.
The sixth player in modern era to win the NHL All-Star MVP at home. He takes home a 1997 Toyota Tercel, which is really nice. No, I'm kidding. I don't know what
I don't know if you guys saw the finals, but Dylan Larkin was trying so hard. The jokes about him really needing a vehicle were hilarious.
He needs a vehicle or he needs an extension to buy the vehicle.
Yeah.
Whichever it is.
But he didn't end up getting the car, and everyone was like, how is Dylan Larkin going to afford a car now?
I know. What do I know? I know the Atlantic won. I know Kel McCarr fell down.
During the skate competition,
yeah. And I know Nick Suzuki won Chipotle for a year. I don't know how, but he won Chipotle for a year, which is funny because Quebec doesn't have a Chipotle.
Right.
So Nick Suzuki won Chipotle for the year in the driving range, or the golf competition.
Oh, so I heard.
They had the one hole that they had to get to, and you start by flinging a puck with your stick as your first drive, and then your second shot is also with a puck onto the green, and then you putt from there with a golf stick. So, golf stick, hockey stick.
Now,
I reached out to Adam and Jesse this morning, and I'm like, listen, do you want me to watch the highlights or something so I'm at least somewhat informed? I didn't watch a second.
Well, and this is going to go into, I'm going to get to this in a second. Mm-hmm. But
do you have more trivia?
No, I've got one more video I want to show you guys.
Oh, okay.
And it's Gritty feeding an alligator. So I figured you guys would want that.
You have my attention.
The All-Star Game is in need of a reboot, I think. And we're well positioned to get one. But first, let's watch Gritty feed an alligator. Because I think that's sort of, that's a Florida thing to do.
You have my attention.
Yeah. You want to see this. I know you want to see this. And I know you want to hear about it because I can explain it to you and show you.
Is there
and I have something.
This?
Yeah. No. Just watch it because it's fun.
Okay.
And
Imagine being that alligator, having never seen
a big orange man.
Yo, that's
Googly
horrifying. Man. Or monster.
Yeah. Yeah, Gator doesn't seem to be too worried about it, though, because I feel like if push comes to shove, the Gator wins. Right? So here you go. This is Gritty.
You gotta touch him with it.
We'll tease him.
The person inside that costume is just shitting themselves.
Yeah. So, do you notice that there's other Gators on the other side?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, what the?
So,
so
here's
insane.
There's like 3 of them.
Yeah, so here's the thing. You got to remember that Gritty is a person, and that person did this entire week in that costume, boiling, and dared to walk out there with a bunch of Gators and having no peripheral vision. Like, if one of those Gators had charged him, there's, like, you've seen the mask on costumes, there's no ankle coverage.
Do Gators charge?
Absolutely they charge.
Is that a
They're
thing?
as fast as a horse. Gators are as fast as a horse.
No way.
Yes
In
way.
water or on land?
On land. Fast as a horse. They are unbelievably fast.
The
Why don't they
legendary
have
bull
Gator
gator in
racing?
Red Dead is very fast.
Yes, it is.
Why don't they have Gator tracks and Gator racing?
It's
I'd
Florida.
watch
I'm
that.
sure they tried it. But most of the time, Gators are like that. They're chilling out in the sun because that's how they collect energy, and then they strike. And, obviously they keep these Gators well fed, so they're not going to be that interested in Gritty. But think about being the guy in that costume and going, okay, I'm going to step out. There's at least 4 Gators within view. You'd have to think there's probably more in that pen.
Yo.
I'd be freaked right out, man.
That's absolutely the wildest thing. Now, was that part of the broadcast?
No, I don't believe it was.
No.
It was just Gritty being Gritty
why
on
would
social
it be?
media. Well,
Why
they
would
did
it be?
do the thing about the broadcast that was sort of funny was that the mascots like lost it and threw a bunch of confetti in the air, and then it got on the ice, so they had to delay the game to clean the confetti up from the mascots.
There was a moment in between like a TV timeout where they allowed the mascots to have a little party, and they were just in the second deck just throwing a bunch of confetti. It was a fun little bit, but nobody thought that, hey, a bunch of confetti is going to land on the ice and we can't play hockey for like 5 to 10 minutes while we clean the ice. And Crosby was on the ice at the time, and he went over and he's like, no, there's still confetti here. There's still confetti here.
Yeah.
We can't play. There's still confetti here. And he's just like, you guys, this is awful.
This is a bad idea. Well, but honestly, if I was a child, which is what the All-Star game ultimately is for, if I was a child and I saw that, I'd be thrilled. Like all those mascots together, it was hilarious. It was great visual, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to be as positive as I can, because what did become abundantly clear over the course of the All-Star weekend, and all you have to do is read Twitter. People's natural, normal reaction to this is that it was a bit cringy at moments, and it was a bit long. And if Jesse, talking about the before the show, we were talking about the skills competitions, for instance, and you watched. God bless you. You watched the first 2 hours of it, and it wasn't done.
I got about 2:15 in. It was like 9:15. I was like, oh, there's still another 45 minutes left. It's a 3-hour program I'm tapping at.
You're already setting an event up for failure if you're trying to make it compete in the same time frame as a hockey game. Like a 3-hour, you don't need a 3-hour window. Maybe they did for commercial purposes, but at the end of the day, no skills competition is going to fill that amount of time. None. It's not going to happen. You will not fill it and make it entertaining and make it exciting. There's no way. So you're setting the event up for failure. What they need to do is figure out what works, what doesn't, and then compress it. Get it into 90 minutes.
One thing, I think the people, as always with these events, everybody there had a good time.
Absolutely.
If you were in Florida for this event and all these things are taking place around the complex there in the city, I think those people had a great time. With
I've always said that about the All-Star game.
Yeah, because there's one event where they did it by the beach, and the guys were hitting pucks and they're shooting it against a surfboard. You got to knock over the surfboard, and then there's a dunk tank and stuff. The people there look like they're having a blast. You know, you're in Florida, it's 30 degrees outside, whatever. But as a TV program, it's not entertaining.
And that's where they make their money.
Yeah.
They make their money back. Gary Bettman said in his press conference that it's actually a net loss, but it's good for the local markets, which we suspected the entire time. Now, I think the most interesting part of the weekend was the Gary Bettman press conference, and don't worry, we'll get to it. But I want to talk about first the opportunity that exists here in Toronto. And it's funny because I saw some tweets going like, because I was excited about the game. And there was just some tweets from people going, really hilarious to see people who usually don't like the All-Star game get excited about it coming to Toronto. And I'm like, I don't think one has to do with the other.
Just say you don't like Toronto, bro.
Yeah, no, these are Toronto people. Toronto people saying it.
Well,
listen,
then,
I don't have
then
to
what's
like...
your problem?
I don't have
Go
to
be
like...
miserable somewhere else. Stop being miserable at me.
They're not...
Stop being miserable at me. Go be miserable somewhere else. Let me enjoy things.
Well, I feel like we've been negative about the All-Star game in the past, and I think rightly so. It's not very well done.
Yeah, but we've said it's great live, and it's about to be live near us.
I also think beyond that Toronto's got an opportunity to sort of reset the tone. Like, the reality of the situation is it wasn't sold out in Florida. The skills comp was not sold out.
And that's brutal.
That's
you
brutal.
Can't have
That's
that.
like,
Cannot
you have
that.
empty seats. It's just that it was kind of dead.
Yeah, it was either it's not sold out or all of the comp seats were handed out and some people just chose not to attend.
Right.
You know, and that's even worse.
Yeah.
That's humiliating.
And that should be a slam dunk thing for the NHL, is having those seats filled.
Yeah, there was large portions of lower bowl. I think it's like on the south end when they show the camera and you look up, it's just empty seats.
And that it
wasn't good.
That's a terrible visual on camera. You just don't want to do that. So I think what they're probably going to have to do, and I think Toronto's the right place to do it. You can do it in other hockey-centric cities, Chicago, New York, Montreal, like whatever you want to do. But Toronto's a great spot.
Sure. And it hasn't been here in
24 years.
4 years by the time it comes.
So I remember the 2000 All-Star game and going to the festivities and absolutely like doing, because there's a convention center, if you're not from Toronto, that's attached to all this. And the Scotiabank Arena, which was then the Air Canada Center, was brand new. And they were launching with this All-Star game. It was the turn of the century. There was so much going on. And I remember the logo. I had the hat. It was so the Toronto 2000, because there's 3 O's in Toronto. And I think there's an opportunity here to really bring in some star power. And no disrespect to Fall Out Boy, who I think put on a good show. Bands on TV, it always sucks.
Dude, Fall Out Boy did it like a few years ago.
Yeah, and then like last minute, Max Kerman's tweeting like, "Hey, they're bringing me in for the All-Star game to be a judge." And no disrespect to the Arkells, because man, you're bad. You got to go out there and get your publicity. But death, taxes, and the Arkells, it's something hockey related.
That should be the lead on this show. They once again use the Arkells. And people think we have a hate on for the Arkells.
Do not have
but
a hate on the Arkells.
They're fine.
They're just everywhere.
Fine. They're fine. They're perfectly fine.
They're good people. They love hockey. I don't blame them.
When you guys actually sent to the chat, oh my God, Max Kerman's a judge.
Yeah.
I thought, honest to God, you misspelled Max Kellerman.
Oh, that would have been wicked.
And I'm like, oh, that's to the earth. I was like, wow, did they give him like overtime to show? I can't believe Max Kellerman's there. And then I Googled Max Kerman and went, you are actually fucking with me. This guy is at the All-Star game.
Yeah.
Every CFL event, every NHL
Hamilton
event.
hockey made sense. They're from Hamilton.
Sure.
Okay, here's what it makes it seem like. And this isn't the truth, but this is what it makes it seem like. It makes it seem like there are 4 or 5 famous people in the world who like hockey.
Well, and
that's what it makes it look like.
And here's the other problem. The Arkells are big in Canada. They are not big in the United States.
Yeah,
who's Max Kerman to somebody from Florida?
And I like again, it's nothing against that band.
No, it's just there are bands that are like localized to certain countries. Like you go to any country, there's going to be bands that are huge there that weren't as big everywhere else. There's nothing wrong with that. And maybe they're still trying to crack in the United States. I don't know. I don't know what their marketing plan is, but
does this. There were a few years where I was like, I get it. Dave Boreanaz likes the Flyers.
Yeah.
I get it. Dude from Buffy the Vampire Slayer likes the Flyers.
By the way, that's
another Flyers
That's
fan.
the celebrity that people say I look the most like. I always get Boreanaz.
What?
I know. But
Sorry,
I
no
brought it up to
offense.
Jax on Virgin, and she was like, I could see it in the jawline. And I said, maybe 5 years ago.
One thing I didn't understand was in the skills judging competition where Max Kerman was a judge. Also a judge was Victoria Azarenka.
Don't know who that is.
She's a very famous tennis player.
Not that famous.
Not that famous.
I know Victoria Azarenka.
Yeah, I just didn't understand her ties to the NHL.
I don't.
They just brought in a famous tennis star.
Hockey?
I don't know. I mean,
I didn't understand.
This is the problem. Like, I could care less if she likes hockey or not. It's great to have some star power outside of the usual suspects who are like Kid Rock and I don't know, David Boreanaz apparently.
Wayne Gretzky's good friend, Kid Rock.
Yeah, there you go.
Like-
And I think I think it's just that when you watch the NBA All-Star game that's coming up, like, and when you see NBA Twitter, like I'm listening to S and Gunn on the Objective Basketball Show, which you've got to hear. It's amazing. They're talking about like Pascal Siakam, and I see S tweeting about it, and Raptors Twitter is just in a frenzy that Siakam was denied this opportunity to be at the All-Star game.
Yes.
How, like, and they're offended on his behalf because the Raptors has stunk, but he's been great.
Meanwhile,
And
we were just surprised that Crosby and Ovechkin were there.
together. When are they ever there? Because Crosby's missed so many All-Star games because of injury.
What percentage of eligible All-Star games have they been there together? I'd love to know.
It's actually a lot less than you'd think.
Yeah.
I think Crosby missed like 7 in a row or something. Injuries and this and that.
Yeah.
And so
Ovi got suspended from his job
for missing
like
it,
took
'cause
a
he didn't care.
financial hit to not go to the thing more than once. And he wasn't the only one. Think about that.
And that's why. So from an objective perspective, objective basketball, fans are offended on a player's behalf to not make the All-Star game. How crazy is that? All right.
Yeah.
In the NHL, the All-Star game is just sort of, and CJ said it on the show on Thursday. He's like, it's sort of like, sometimes it's like just a non-event. So the opportunity in Toronto, and this is what I wanted to get back to, is bring out the big guns. You have massive names already associated with Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. Justin Bieber already did the video.
He has to be there.
Justin, by the way, apparently, like, he just sold his back catalog, all of his music, for $200 million. The guy doesn't have to work a day in his life ever again.
Wow.
And he sold all the rights to his music. And then I get the suspicion that touring is just not working for his health. Like regular touring, he'll probably do festivals and things, one-off shows, but I don't know if he's ever going to tour the way he used to. And I don't blame him. The guy's been touring since he was like 13.
Yeah.
And he's 28. It's a long time. But
If you can retire by 28, I highly recommend
if
doing
he
it.
comes and performs in Toronto, the arena's an instant sellout. If he's doing 3 songs in intermission, instant sellout.
MLS, he has to pull every...
Drake has a pre-existing relationship with the Raptors. He'll be there. They're going to make sure he's there.
He has to pull. They have to pull every string together.
The
to be there.
weekend you can bring out. You could
He has to be there.
Go and whatever. What's their fee? Pay it. Get them there. And not just that, but you got to make all of the surrounding stuff really exciting as well. So the Metro Convention Center is already booked up for that, and it's huge. You know that they're going to have street parties and things like that all around it. They're going to close that area all the way around the Scotiabank Arena.
Wonder if they could get something going in Maple Leaf Square.
Well, Dan O'Toole actually tweeted out. He's like, "Why not hold the game inside? What is it called? Rogers, not Rogers Arena.
Oh, the Rogers Center.
The Rogers Center. I want to
forget
say
the
Rogers
name of
Arena.
the Rogers Center?
That's how hockey focused I've been. But
you were
as
going
we
to
know,
call it the Sky Dome.
from
My
watching,
employer was going to kick you in the chest.
I disagree with Dan on the one point, which is watching a game in there because it sucks.
Yeah, no. Don't put a rink in the Rogers
If you've
Center.
seen anything but baseball in that arena, concerts aren't great. They're okay. The football was terrible.
The
in there.
Raptors used to play in the Rogers Center.
know, it's
for
crazy.
people who are too young. It was the worst
They were also
viewing experience
shit.
for anything ever.
Except for when Michael Jordan showed up.
One
Yes,
game,
the one
Michael
game.
Jordan showed up. They
One
set the
game.
attendance record or whatever, and they beat them.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
I had 500s for when UFC came, George St. Pierre versus Jake Shields. And it was cool as like a piece of mixed martial arts history. But like I might as well have been watching stick figures.
Oh, yeah.
And that was before I figured out my life and got classes.
WrestleMania
So I
there was very cool.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
Rogers Center is great for things where you don't have to rope off entire sections.
Yes.
So WrestleMania would count. Any Jays playoff game is iconic. But if you have to rope off anything, you just realize what like a concrete
It becomes a
dungeon
dead zone, right?
it is,
And they're doing
yeah.
a bunch of renos, and I get it. So I understand what Dan's saying in terms of like bring as many people in as you can. But I think you focus it on Scotiabank Arena. You get some great names in there. It can't just be like, don't leave it to poor PK Subban to carry the entire personality of the broadcast. I don't know if you saw the Mitch Marner stuff. And
No.
I was like, Mitch is out here trying. He's
No.
trying to move this along with PK. But like it's like a flag in the wind. They sort of leave them out there. And it's just, and there's not a lot of energy and not a lot of woos in the crowd. And we gotta go big. I'm not an event planner, but I think MLSD can do it.
I did see the PK explaining the fastest skater competition, and I was like, this segment would be so cool if it weren't so visible that no one's here.
Yeah.
No one was there.
Yeah.
I think he did that before the event started too, though. So there was a little. It was a
They
little
tape
pre-tape,
those, don't they?
Yeah,
They pre-tape?
but
Someone
still.
Get people behind
Someone's
him.
got to
Right.
say something. Get people behind them. It looks
Seat
horrible.
fillers.
It looked
Well,
horrible.
so here's what they do. And Steve, you were one of these. At
For
award
free.
shows, they have seat fillers.
Yep.
So if you get up to go to the bathroom and you have a legitimate ticket to the event, somebody will come and they will sit in your seat. And then when you come back, they will leave and go to the back of the line because that's what seat fillers do.
Yep.
Why don't the NHL have to just get some seat fillers? Not hard to find that. So anyway, all that said,
Man,
there's a huge opportunity here, and we're just sort of scratching the surface, and I'm sure MLS's got a plan, but the NHL needs this to be bigger. This has to be bigger. This has to mean something, right?
get some Raptors there if they're available. Get some Jays there if they're available. Just get the building to make some sort of
Vince
noise.
Vaughn, he likes
For
hockey.
God's sake.
David Boreanaz, he likes
He
hockey.
sure
Who else
does.
likes hockey?
Will Ferrell. Any actor who happens to be in town filming a movie.
Can you bring all 18,000 season ticket holding Preds fans there to make some noise? Because they are loud.
Yes.
Just bring all the Preds fans.
Will Arnett's going to be there.
Will Arnett.
Will
Sure
Arnett.
will be there.
Yeah.
Did you know he likes the Leafs?
Did you see that?
I bet you did.
Did you see the meme going around of like a slap fight happening, and it's like Dubas fighting anybody who says the Arkells can't perform at the All-Star game?
No.
No.
People are just. But it's in desperate need of a reset. This year was a perfect example of it, and we can do that.
Get Shanahan on the ice.
Oh,
All-Star games in Toronto. I want Brendan Shanahan on the ice.
what do you want him doing? I want him going head-to-head with a Leaf.
I want him in the penalty shot competition, and he's wearing a Red Wings jersey, and he stops halfway, and like Corey Perry when he threw off his gloves to get out the mini stick, I want him to take the Red Wings jersey off, and he's wearing a Leaf jersey, and then he scores on the goalie who's for sure trying.
Oh, I like
That's
that.
what I want.
I like that.
I don't like how they have it during the day on Saturdays. I don't understand why hockey's big night of the week is Saturday night, and then you take the big event.
You're talking about the game.
the game itself. That you take the big event, and then you don't also have it on Saturday night. Why not play it at 7?
Well, and here's the other opportunity they missed. This is the first non-football weekend the NHL's had all year, except for the Pro Bowl, which also sucks. And and Jesse, to your point, like instead of scheduling these divisional matchups that they're so dying to have, they have the shitty All-Star game. I think what you do with the All-Star game is move it a weekend, and if you're going to have it in the afternoon, have it lead into the Super Bowl or something.
Whoa.
No,
You wouldn't have it then?
no, I would avoid
Maybe the
Super
week
Bowl.
after Super Bowl?
Well, yeah, anything that's not around Super Bowl
And
is
you-
not
okay,
that same
so,
weekend.
so you do it the week after Super Bowl. You do it in the evening,
Yeah.
right? You have some fun with it. Because in Toronto, it's going to be in the evening. They're not going to do an afternoon game.
It better be 7 p.m.
You
start
think?
on a Saturday.
Well, maybe because of the kids.
It's so traditional that they do it during the afternoon now, the last like 5 years.
Is it because
in
of the kids,
Saturdays.
though?
I don't know.
It's got to be because
It's
of the
weird.
kids.
NBA
Probably.
doesn't care.
No, they don't. The NBA doesn't have to care.
Right.
The NBA's built their sport. NHL needs to do a little building.
Yeah, man. And we're talking about this. So if you hate the NHL so much, we're talking about this. We're brainstorming how to make it good
Mhm.
and how to make people care.
I think people know that.
Do we go away from 3-on-3?
Well-
a lot of people didn't like that.
I think man.
The tournament
You have to
style
make people
3-on-3.
care. I don't know what how do you get the players to care?
All right, here's one. You tell the players if you are not interested in trying, do not fucking show up. That skills competition thing that I saw, it was Nick Suzuki and I don't remember who else.
Mhm.
Any chance that I would have watched a single solitary second of the All-Star game the next day flew right out the window. I thought, these guys don't give a fuck sober. How are they going to be tomorrow hungover? That's the other thing. We all know, like, okay, maybe I don't know enough about the NBA. Do people talk about the NBA All-Star game like, so-and-so is not going to have a very good game because he's hung the fuck.
Well, the game is sloppy. It's always like 150 or 148.
Well, they don't play defense.
But but they, the 3-point competition matters. The dunk competition matters. It's like a point of pride. And also, I think the prizes are pretty sweet too. That's the other thing. Like these guys, like have them play for something that like, hey, listen, if you win this, we'll give you $100,000 and we'll donate $100,000 to the charity of your choice.
They are the MVP. They are playing for something. Like
yes,
it's a $1 million prize for the winning team, I think.
For the All-Stars?
Yeah, for the game. It's $1 million prize and then the MVP gets a car. So they have already done that.
I would say do some of that for the skills competition too.
Like it's supposed to be they're All-Stars. It's supposed to be a showcase. This is
Harlem Globetrotters, literally.
Best. This is the best that we have. It could still be like the NBA where you score a shitload and no one's really playing any defense and it's a bunch of fun. What one of the most spectacular performances we've ever seen in an All-Star game, Dominik Hasek. The goalie decided to try and he made a bunch of saves and it forced all the players to try. And when Owen Nolan finally beat him, we all went, holy shit, he finally beat him. And it was great. These guys, you have to try or don't show up.
I don't know if you saw, well, I assume you didn't, but Kaprizov, he was a big story coming out of Saturday because he refused to take part in any of the skills competitions because he didn't care about them. Then during the game on Saturday, he was -2, he was 6'4", and he just lazing around all over the place.
And any Wild fan who made the trek to Florida, like unless they met the guy, if you meet him, then it's worth it. If you went, watched him play like shit and didn't even get to meet him, would you like Kaprizov? Would you like the Wild? Mm-hmm. Would you like hockey more after that experience? If you're not going to try, stay the fuck home.
And then the word coming out today is that 16 guys from the team went on vacation this past weekend, and I assume he wanted to be there.
Well, then go.
Well, he wasn't allowed.
He's not allowed.
He has to go fulfill his obligations as an All-Star.
Take the suspension.
And he didn't want to be there at all the entire weekend.
Don't come.
And he didn't try.
I'm sure Bill Guerin would be like, you want to do what? You want to miss a game? I don't think so.
Well, then great.
I don't think Steve, I don't know if your strategy of don't come, you got to try is going to work.
I think what does work, though, here's what would work. Crosby.
Well, okay. Can we examine what I'm asking for? Is for people to do their fucking job.
Put on a show.
Like, that's
Put
wild.
on a show. I get that. Put on a show.
I'm pulling teeth to get people to. You make over $9 million. Get out there and try. Are you kidding? I'm being unreasonable. You make generational wealth annually. I have to ask for this? What a sad sack fucking league. That this is a. What? You've got to be kidding me. And I love Kaprizov. He's Kirill the Thrill. He's one of the most exciting players in the league. He is single-handedly keeping my fantasy team alive. Get out of here. Literally, don't come.
He didn't want to. Like
should get.
You're telling him not to come, and he would have been like, "Okay, thank you."
I think Bill Guerin probably didn't want him to take the suspension. Because they need to help the Wild need to win.
He should get suspended a game anyway. He brought his body to Florida. He left his talent in Minnesota.
Now you've just taken a step too far. Now all of Minnesota hates you again. They were on side until after the Chuck Fletcher stuff from a few years ago.
Are you jacked about that performance you watched, guys?
I think it's a fair comment because at the end of the day, you're here to grow the game, and the more you grow the game, the more HRR hockey-related revenue there is, the more you make.
Is he allowed to tweet, don't pick me for the draft? Well, and then every other fan base votes for him as a joke.
So here's what I was going to say. So how do you get these guys to try?
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like how you get the NHL to change its rules, which we're going to get to, by the way, because we got to talk about Gary Bettman.
We're fucked?
No. You need the big guys to show up, a la Hasek, and try. And as much as I love Sydney, as much as I love Ovi, I love that Ovi's kid was out there. And I know some people including Dominik Hasek, had a problem with that. I don't know. He's a kid who's born in the States who's 4. I don't know. I don't think the kid is a sign of war here. I think there's a little bit of...
We can get into that.
There's nuance there.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on there. But what I would say is that if those guys get out there and try, if Sidney Crosby's out there making guys look stupid, they're going to start trying. Because you know what? They're really competitive. And
Connor McDavid asked to not be in the fastest skater.
Yeah.
It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what to say. They don't like the spotlight.
Yeah.
That's part of the issue.
You make 12 and a half. You should be making 25.
If he's in Toronto, in front of his family, I mean, not that his family wouldn't be there. His family was there. But if he's in Toronto, he's doing the fastest skater.
There was an All-Star
So,
game
for sure.
this past weekend.
The
Get out
Connor
there.
McDavid thing is that he wanted to show everybody that he could do the accuracy shooting.
Yeah, because he's only ever gets to do the one.
Because he's like, everybody thinks I'm just a skater, and this year I'm a goal scorer. I'm scoring all these goals. So I want to do
both.
the accuracy.
You're
I
Connor
want to do the
McDavid.
accuracy shot. And he
No,
went
I
out
don't know
there.
if they're allowed. I don't know if they're
Yeah, no,
allowed.
I don't
They're not
think so.
allowing him to do that. I think that's
he
the
has
problem.
He had to pick one.
Yes.
Not allowed. It's the All-Star game. The rules are made up. It does not count. Do impressive shit and showcase the sport. You make $12.5 million a year. You should make 25. Why is that? No one fucking cares compared to the other sports. Get out there and try. The most useless players association in all of professional sports gets out there and does nothing for any of the players. The players don't try at the marquee event, and they're like, we don't understand why we don't make any fucking money compared to the other ones. Fuck! Skate in a circle once! That's the ask! Skate in a circle once! Twice if you make it to the next round!
I gotta go to the finals. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, ew!
Yeah.
Holy shit! Oh no, he's already in one event. The fuck? He's the best player in the world!
And to Steve's point, would Steph Curry sit out a 3-point shooting competition? No.
You'd sit
'Cause
him
he's the
down and
best-
you go, Steph.
Because he's the best in the world.
But it would never occur to him to sit out of the 3-point skills competition because it means something to win the thing. Because the NBA players give a fuck. They do these things. It's a popular event as a result. And as a result, the stars make $40+ million a year because they show up to their job and give it 110%. Not visibly hungover. What are we asking for here? This is dreadful. Thank goodness we didn't get accreditation for that piece of shit.
Yeah, we're
Where
not
the players
we're not allowed
didn't try, didn't want to be there. The fans weren't in the building. No actual celebrities showed up. I should get a tax receipt for showing up to that fucking thing. Are you kidding? No, I want to show off the skate in a circle fast. You're one of the only fuckers anyone is here to see. Oof.
To defend the NHL players a little, the NBA players have not taken part. The Stars have not taken part in the slam dunk competition.
Yeah, Vince
And
Carter
it
said
has-
it.
That's bad too.
And it has since fallen off the map
Yeah,
in
it
terms
wasn't
of like
good for that.
a great
But
competition.
When Vince Carter said, I'm not doing this anymore because I don't dunk. Remember, he was
Yeah.
in Toronto. He's like, I don't dunk.
That was ridiculous.
And now like LeBron's never been in a slam dunk competition. That's a
That's wild.
dream. Like a guy like Zion, to see him in a slam dunk
Yeah.
competition would be incredible. But right now, that's a competition for the guy, the 13th man on the bench, or the rookie who comes in who's not afraid of the spotlight. You know,
Problem
So,
with the slam dunk competition is it kind of jumped the shark.
yeah.
Where like okay,
How much can you do?
well after I don't remember what year it was, but they just decided at a certain point, okay, I can't win without props.
It was around the time when Dwight Howard jumped over a Kia car because the Kia was the sponsor, and Dwight Howard just jumped over a car and dunked in his suit. You remember he wore the Superman costume?
yes.
And Shaq was mad because Shaq's nickname was Superman, and then
Yeah.
Dwight Howard stole it and he put on the Superman cape and he jumped over a Kia, and then he got 10 out of 10 or 50 out of 50, and that's kind of when the dunk competition started jumping the shark, and everybody kind of bowed out of it.
Yeah, and like that's requires judges' scores and stuff like that. I mean, sometimes an event has a moment and it passes, and that's okay. But as long as the event takes place and there are contestants willing to try, the amount of people on my timeline last night who were talking excitedly about the AHL All-Star game.
Apparently,
and
it was
competition.
great.
Yeah, because they tried.
Yeah, apparently it was fantastic.
They tried.
Everybody's saying you got to adopt. I don't know what the AHL did, but apparently they did an amazing job. Like as the hockey fans were like, this is great.
Because it's a league full of not millionaires who want to be millionaires one day, and they tried. They actually tried.
Well, millionaires can try, and there's a reboot needed. So we'll see what happens with the Toronto All-Star game. But I'm feeling pretty good about it. Feel positive. Now we have to come back and talk about Gary Bettman and about this the playoff seeding and all the other fun tidbits that came out of his live. I found out he was doing a live thing, and I opened up Sportsnet's webpage. I'm like, I gotta listen to this whole thing, and it's a head scratcher. We'll get to that, but first, how Connor McDavid and Patrick Mahomes are connected.
Ooh.
Dave Bastel's got that for us right now.
You can bet that with David Bastel. Brought to you by Sports Interaction. Get in the action and make a play. 19 plus. Please play responsibly.
Okay, so we've got Super Bowl week ahead, and Steve really followed the Eagles and the Chiefs this year.
It's just magical journey.
Just really loves the football game, the good old football game. Now, Dave,
yes,
we do have there's some amazing crossover props, which is something I don't think we've ever talked about before, and it involves McDavid and Mahomes.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Sports Interaction currently has them. Yeah, it's called cross sports props, basically. So as an example, and we'll use this today, and Jesse's all over this, which is fantastic. So Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers face the Montreal Canadiens on the 12th. So it's the closest game to the Super Bowl. So what we have at Sports Interaction is McDavid total points against the Canadiens on one side versus Patrick Mahomes passing touchdowns on the other side. Wow. So what's going to be more? Now, McDavid could really light up the Montreal Canadiens. Right. I think we know that, right? Ooh. Take a look at that goaltending stats in Montreal. Yeah. And then Mahomes, is he 3 touchdowns? Is it only 2 touchdowns? Is it 4 touchdowns?
And how's the ankle, right?
And exactly. Okay, let me ask you this then. So if you're McDavid points versus Mahomes touchdowns in the Super Bowl game, where are you leaning? Because right now the favorite is Patrick Mahomes. You get less of odds if you bet on Patrick Mahomes. Good value on Connor McDavid.
$2 Steve wants McDavid because the first number I thought of was 4. Number I thought of was 4. $2.
And that's easy.
Right. And it's a good bet that Mahomes won't throw 4 TD passes.
Because I asked you a question. I said, what if he rushes it in? And you said it doesn't count.
Doesn't count.
No.
Yeah. Or if he hands it off, doesn't count.
It's got to be passed.
Yeah.
Magic number, McDavid 4.
Okay. And you know what's interesting?
Less than 4.
Because it's the NHL, watch the Habs come in and just stomp the Oilers 6-0.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a way.
He just takes the night off.
Yeah. Such a goofy game. What else we got, Dave? What else are we going to talk about?
You know what? The other thing I wanted to throw on you guys, because I know the NHL All-Star game is done. Thankfully, no more competitions.
It was a great nap.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: so the over/under of Canadian teams to qualify for the postseason is at 3.5. Currently, we know that Toronto, Winnipeg, and Edmonton are officially in if the playoffs start today. I know it's still a dogfight for the Jets and Oilers to actually qualify for sure, but 3.5 is the number, guys. Calgary's banging on that door. That would take you to the over. Are you going over under 3.5 Canadian teams to make the postseason?
I'm going under.
Okay.
The Leafs are the free space in the East, and no one else is going to get in. So
Correct.
Really, it's all about the West. Winnipeg's going to get in. I think they'll be fine.
Edmonton's, I like your style.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure.
All the shots being taken. Okay, but here's the thing. When you look at the standings, okay, you got Calgary on the outside. And you think, well, Calgary's got to make it. But who do they take out? Colorado, Edmonton, Vegas, LA.
Who thinks
or
Calgary's
Seattle?
got to make it?
Yeah, who thinks I think it's Edmonton over Calgary.
You don't think so?
Yeah.
Only thing that, oh man,
they're tied with Colorado. It's just Colorado's played.
I got Colorado and Edmonton in those 2 spots, and I think Calgary misses, so I take the under on the 3.5.
Yeah, I do too.
I actually hope both Alberta teams actually make it there, because that would push it to 4. But right now, it's 3 as it stands. So,
yep.
And that right now, the under is actually paying more of an odd there, almost 2 times your money if it is the under. We shall see. Yeah. We shall see. I think the Jets are in, as you mentioned. I think the Leafs are in, and give me the two Alberta teams as well.
Yeah. The West is volatile. Minnesota's a big wild card there, and Vegas, whatever the hell they're doing, that's going to be big.
Super up and then super down. Vegas's last 10, they are 2-6-2. Oh, not great, Bob.
No.
Hey, Dave, thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate it today, and we will see you Wednesday, sir. Prepping for Super Bowl.
I look forward to it. Thanks, guys. Be well.
Listen, it's hard to stick to working out. And it was especially hard during the pandemic when, we were like one of the most locked down areas in North America. So I'll be honest, I invested in a Peloton. And it really, really helped up here, along with some other things as well.
It's funny you call it an investment, because it was truly an investment in your health and your well-being.
Yes. And I think it's funny. I have a buddy that's a trainer, and he said usually when people are cutting back, the thing that goes first is one of the things that's the most important, which is your physical health, right? And so Peloton is more than just a bike. Everybody knows that Peloton makes bikes, but there's so much more than that. They also make treadmills. They have tons of classes like yoga, strength training, HIIT, and boxing, and you can do it all at home. And they've got a variety of instructors with different training backgrounds and styles. And obviously,
music.
Good music, because you get to choose your music, right?
Really good music.
Yeah, I like that. I always go with the 80s, as you can tell, as I'm sure you know. What's your if you're going to ride for half an hour, what's your playlist?
Oh,
like,
what's your man, now you're making me name them. I don't know, but I would fit in just great at any regular live Peloton class, because I don't know, I just need like Lizzo and Megan Thee Stallion.
Jesse's embarrassed.
I don't care. That's all I need.
It's fitness
as I ride through the Scottish countryside.
It's fitness at all levels. You don't have to be a super athlete to enjoy Peloton classes for every level. Try Peloton risk-free with a 30-day home day trial. New members only. Not available in remote locations. See additional terms at onepeloton.ca/trial. onepeloton.ca/home-trial. This show is brought to you by BetterHelp. Now, we've talked about this many times before. Mental health is extremely important to the three of us personally. We've all been to therapy. We've all had a lot of work to do on ourselves. And it's one of those things that when somebody comes to you and says, I'm considering this, I think I said this last week, usually they're well past the point of, I really need this, right?
Yep.
And it's going to make your life better. And I highly recommend it. Steve and Jesse do too. What do you think's the thing that you got the most out of it?
Ooh, coping skills.
Yeah.
I would say, like, just in therapy is where you go to learn how to fish. They don't give you a fish. They teach you, man.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. So if you want to check it out and the great thing about BetterHelp is that you get a match with somebody very quickly, which can often be a challenge. You can do it over text. You can do it over phone. You can do it over FaceTime. We want you to live a more empowered life, and therapy can get you there. Visit betterhelp.com/SDP to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/SDP. Gary Bettman was asked a lot of things at the All-Star press conference, which he always gives, and he'll give answers that infuriate you. Now, one of the things I think it's really important that you know and that we understand the context before we go into this, okay? Sidney Crosby and Connor McDavid in successive months have said the NHL needs to go back to, or they would prefer it goes back to a 1 versus 8.
And Gary said, I agree.
Bettman says it's complicated. Debate over 1v8, it's just not just that. You've also got to look at then changing the wild card. And then you've got to start looking at the matchups in terms of how many times everybody's playing everybody else if you're having conference-based playoffs. Now, a lot of people were quick to point out, and they're right, that the last time they changed it, all of those things happened. Everybody was happy with the previous seeding format. Nobody wanted to change. The NHL did, and they managed to find their way through it. But what's important about this, guys, is that when you have Connor McDavid and Sidney Crosby saying it, the commissioner is compelled to answer it. And when you have Connor McDavid and Sidney Crosby saying it, you as a fan know that the NHL players, a good chunk of them, share the same frustrations that we do.
Yep.
And usually, when that happens, things change. Now, I'm going to give you an example. Do you remember that Alexander Ovechkin used to wear a tinted visor?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you know why he stopped?
It became against the rules, I think.
This is what Ovi said. Marty Brodeur started crying to the league, I can't see his eyes. And he's like, what are you talking about? So it was Marty Brodeur. And also Marty Brodeur got another rule change. Do you remember the Sean Avery rule? Where
Yes.
Sean was waving his stick in Marty's face? There was nothing illegal about that. Still, I'm not sure what's wrong with that. But the
He's
league,
not touching him.
but the league said you can't do it. No waving of the stick. No distracting Marty.
That's resulted in a grand total of 1 goal getting called back ever, I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's such a needless, pointless rule, and yet Sean Avery creative enough to come up with something that pissed Brodeur off enough that he was able to call the NHL, and the NHL literally enacted the rule within a week.
Within like a couple of days. Lost mid-playoff series, by the way. You cannot change rules mid-season.
But you can.
But you can, if you don't care about the integrity of your sport enough. And they don't. So that's why they changed the rule. And lost and all that is it didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
He got scored on that power play, but it was after because Marty was so cheesed. But it wasn't while he was having his eyes taken away.
Here's why the NHL doesn't want to go back to a 1v8. The NHL and its owners want to go to an 84-game schedule, which is something that they had in the mid-90s for a couple of seasons.
Yes.
I'm going to give you a few excerpts from Gord Miller, who had a great thread on this on Twitter. He says, as it stands now, teams play clubs from the other conference twice, 32 games. The other division in their conference 3 times, and their own division 3 to 4 times. Under this format, 1 to 8 conference makes sense as teams are playing in very similar schedules. However, that format, combined with scheduling issues, has caused problems, including a relative lack of intra-divisional games. You remember, the Leafs used to play the Habs, the Bruins, anybody else in their division when there were 3 divisions per conference, sometimes 6 to 8 times a year.
I think it was 8 at its height.
And that's when we had real divisions rather than these quarter-off divisions, these 25% of the league divisions that we have. The format, combined with scheduling issues, has caused problems, including a relative lack of intra-divisional games, which, regardless of the strength of the teams that are the biggest sellers at the gate, for the most part, the biggest drivers of TV ratings, basically, there's no intensity because they're not playing each other enough. This season, for example, the Islanders and Rangers and Flames and Oilers only play each other 3 times. And he says, worse yet, they don't meet again this season.
That is bad.
The Islanders and Rangers last played December 22nd. The Flames at Edmonton last played December 27th. A proposal is circulating to boost divisional rivalries by A, reducing the number of preseason games from 8 to 5.
Agree with that.
And expanding the regular season from 82 to 84 games. Number 2, going strictly divisional playoff format for the first 2 rounds with a possible play-in. Under the proposal, teams would play home and away versus the other conference, which is 32 games of the schedule, along with other divisions in the conference, 16 games of the schedule, and that would leave 36 games against divisional opponents, meaning they would play divisional rivals 5 times and the 6th additional matchup. This issue with the schedule format is a question of whether the 1 to 8 conference playoffs would be fair, since teams that are playing in a very different schedule may not, let's say you got one division that's strong and one division that's weak. If they weight the divisions heavily in terms of games, and the Atlantic Division, which is easily the best division in the sport, at least at the top, is playing each other a bunch of times, people are going to say, well, that's not fair because they're playing each other a bunch of times in the regular season.
That isn't that baseball?
Right. So Gord Miller says that's where the proposed play-in format comes in. The top 5 teams from each division would make the playoffs. The 4th and 5th place teams would each meet in a best of 3 play-in round. As of today, that would be like Buffalo, Florida, Pittsburgh, Washington, Colorado, Nashville, Calgary, Edmonton. Expanding the playoff field from 16 to 20 teams has been talked about for a while, not gained much traction. The play-in format has met with resistance, specifically from Gary Bettman. No perfect solution, but the current system isn't working on several levels. Can a compromise of the 1 to 8 playoff format with more division-heavy schedule work? The NHL has some games worth 3 points, others worth 2, so anything is possible.
So, I'm just looking at...
that's what's being weighed here.
I'm just looking at 4 versus 5 in each division right now. You have the Caps taking on the Penguins.
Yep.
Yeah, sign me up to watch that. I'll definitely watch that.
Absolutely.
Colorado versus Nashville.
I think that'd be, rematch from last year.
Yeah, it'd be a good series, but one team is in a playoff spot right now, the other is not. Edmonton versus Calgary.
Mm-hmm.
Sign me up for that, but one team is in the playoffs right now, the other is not. And this is the very bad one, though.
Mm-hmm.
In the Atlantic, you know who 4 versus 5 is?
Mm-hmm.
Buffalo versus Florida. Dude, what? Buffalo Neither of those teams are in a playoff spot.
Yeah, they were almost there. Why did they have to throw in the ridiculous, hey, you got to have a divisional first 2 rounds of the playoffs? Why did we have to do that? Why couldn't we just have 1 through 8 and then you fix the 84 game schedule? Because 84 makes sense. They should 100% go to 84 games. It's divisible by 32. Simple. Easy math. You get the conference, you get the divisional games in there, and it divides easy, and everybody plays a fair amount of games. And then just go back to 1 through 8. Why did you have to keep adding on this? Oh, and then we need a divisional round of the playoffs. No, just play 1 through 8.
Travis Yost tweeted this, and it gives you an idea of how often divisional talent imbalances can create poor seeding. So in 13-14, the St. Louis Blues took on the Chicago Blackhawks. The Blues had 111 points. The Blackhawks had 107 first round. Next year,
so bad.
Same thing. St. Louis 107, Chicago 103. 16-17, Washington, Pittsburgh 11-108. 111-108.
Wow.
Boston, Toronto 112-105. Toronto, Tampa Bay 115-110. And then Minnesota, St. Louis 113-109.
No,
Two teams with over 110 points played each other in the first round.
makes no sense to do the divisional seeding in the
That's
playoffs.
so bad.
The regular season is there so you can earn a seed in the playoffs, and your seed should be playing the lower teams in the conference.
Yeah.
That's it.
Right. And here's the problem is what they've done with the playoffs is, and the playoffs are great. They really are the strength of the sport. The NHL playoffs are wonderful.
Every playoff in everything is incredible.
It is.
Mhm.
But the NHL playoffs are their highlight.
Yeah, they're great.
Here's what you've done though, right? You've taken the best teams, oftentimes some of the bigger markets, right?
Mhm.
And you're matching them up and having these all-star first and second round series. You get to the conference final,
And you don't care.
and we care if we're in it.
Yes.
But we need NHL fans to care. And this is where it becomes a little bit like, if you're a Colorado Avalanche fan, yeah, you were fucking in it. You were singing all the small things. You were in it.
Of course.
I get it, and
Oilers,
I get that.
absolutely.
I get that. But what this essentially, unfortunately, eliminates, sometimes you get a 1 versus 8, and the 8 wins, and then they win again, and all of a sudden you got a Cinderella in the conference final.
Fun.
I don't want to see 1 versus 2 until the conference final. That's when I want to see you.
What I think it does sometimes is it makes the first round the highlight.
And you're front loading the playoffs. So then by the Stanley Cup, and I hate to say this, guys, the Stanley Cup that's where the ratings drop off. That's where they should be right. Like the Super Bowl is like the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
The NHL, it's like the first round, and we're down.
And then it dips. I'll give you an example. When they showed the map of the United States in 2019, who was rooting for who in the NBA final?
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, I didn't think they cared. But, it was just such a fish out of water situation as a Toronto sports fan. Like, what? All these people have opinions about my local sports team.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just so not used to that.
I've never seen so many people just mad at Canada.
happy.
Just angry.
No,
angry
people were
Canada.
cheering for the Raptors to beat Golden State because Golden State had a stranglehold on the NBA final. It was Golden State versus LeBron for how many consecutive years?
Yeah.
And people were like, something different. Oh my God. And they were going for the Raptors purely based on that, or that they hadn't won before, or just, someone knocked Curry off his pedestal, whatever it was. And the Stanley Cup Finals, it's just not like that.
No.
It's the most hardcore of the hardcore, watch it. Otherwise, you're just not interested.
And the whole thing, right, is when you're doing this in any sport, the broadcaster job is to build the storyline, right? If you're doing the pregame for the NHL, it's like, holy shit, look at this matchup we have tonight. And there's, for the local markets, you don't have to do that. Like if Dallas and Tampa are playing, people from Dallas and people from Tampa are excited.
Oh, of course.
But your goal as the national broadcaster, your ESPNs, your TNTs, your Sportsnets, is to pull everybody else in. Okay, we're going to see Jamie Benn. Whose head is he going to hack off tonight? Right? Is Tyler, is Jake Ottinger the real deal? Is Victor Hedman, who I'm just making this up, this is a fake Stanley Cup in my head.
Did you do the Stars versus the Lightning?
Yeah, I know that happened, but I'm just saying, like, if it happened this year, which is possible, is Jake Ottinger ready for the big time?
Whoa.
Is Victor Hedman going to get back from an injury to 80% of what he was?
Whoa.
All that stuff you're trying to build that excitement, like, oh, all the things that you as a fan are excited about. But I do feel like the best teams suck up the most airtime, right? We're always talking about the best teams because they're more fun to talk about than the teams that are losing, except in exceptional cases. And you take the best teams out in the first couple rounds. They're the ones we've been following all year.
Yeah, that second round is where all of the best matchups happen in terms of seeding. If you have the top seeds from one division end up as the top teams in the conference, like you're asking for that second round to be the highlight matchups, and that's not the way the sport should be laid out in terms of the playoff format.
And you know what's kind of terrifying about the ratings and everything? I was thinking back to last year's playoffs, and you brought up the playoff tree, and it just brought back memories. Last year's Stanley Cup playoffs were incredible.
They were.
Yeah, that first round was absolutely fantastic.
They were really good, and if you can't sign people up to watch what the NHL was able to produce last year, you're in huge trouble.
But this is the thing, Steve. What if those happen rather than all in the first round?
It built?
What if if it was a build? Like what if it's like I'm watching the first round just to see what could happen in the second round, and oh my God, can you imagine the third? That's the point. And I know there's going to be a lot of comments in here like, you guys are Leaf fans, you're bummed about getting booted in the first round. 100% that's true. But you can't tell me that St. Louis is thrilled about it.
No.
From 10 years ago.
No.
Or that who are the other teams I mentioned?
Well, it was basically a three-way knife fight between St. Louis, Chicago, and LA for
6 years.
Yeah, I was about to say half a decade, but that's not long enough.
Yeah.
And that kind of sucks.
So it does, and that's where you want to build to that, because you want to be like, okay, the Leafs. Okay, sure, they finished second in the conference and they're playing the 7th seed, and they'll probably dispatch them quickly. But if they do, who are they going to have to play? The big, scary Bruins. And so be ready to watch, because even if they win, it's still scary. And that builds over. Instead of 2 weeks of great hockey, you get 4.
They're trying to force a rivalry, and by doing that, they take the fire out of it. The best rivalry growing up, Detroit versus Colorado.
Oh, that was good.
Star-studded teams who
So
want to tear each other's friggin' head off. So the NHL designed a league that forced them to play each other. No, they did not. The league was as the league was, and they consistently met in the Western Conference Final because they were the two best teams.
Yep.
The Red Wings cleave their way through the first 2 rounds, and the Avalanche bash their way up the mountain, and they would meet in this Clash of the Titans, and then it's the Stanley Cup Final. These two teams who had to war their way through their respective conferences, and unfortunately,
And you talk about division rivalries. It's not as though that didn't exist 25 years ago. This is the funny part, is that like we've been watching long enough to remember that I remember that Toronto and Ottawa met like 4 or 5 straight years.
Oh yeah.
And they were great.
There's a lot.
They
and
were
it just
great
sort
years.
of happened that way.
And it would be in the second round, because everything's just a little more amped up every round you go to, right?
Yeah.
It's a little more fired up. And then who met in the third round in 1998-99? Toronto Buffalo. A crazy series.
Yeah.
A crazy
That was a
series.
great
and guess what? They're in the same division. And they always have been. And this is what it is. It's like if they're gonna meet anyway, guys.
Yeah.
They're gonna meet anyway.
The NBA does not have this problem.
No, they don't. Because they don't have this division system.
Like, you have players in interviews openly talking 3 rounds into the future in January. That's nuts. But it's fuel to the fire for whoever they play in the first round and the second round. And if it turns out to be, oh God, who was it? Someone was talking about they're not worried about anyone in the West. So they're looking
John Morant.
It was John Morant?
Yeah.
So they're talking about John Morant was talking about, I think he had his eyes on the Celtics.
Mm.
So imagine the being able to use that soundbite if Ja makes it to play the Celtics in the NBA final.
Right.
How good
the division thing, them forcing these division matchups doesn't make sense either, too. Because, like, okay, we're forcing all these division matchups, we're creating these rivalries against these teams, but like Toronto and Florida are in the same division. Like, what if you forced it so we got Toronto, Florida all the time? Like, I feel like you can't set up the schedule to force rivalries. They just happen because teams happen just to play each other. Stop forcing all these things.
Rivalries
don't
begin
really exist.
oftentimes in the playoffs too,
Yeah.
right? They start to hate each other after Game 5, Game 6, Game 7.
But weirdly, what Leaf game out of any is much must-watch viewing?
Boston, Toronto, Winnipeg, Toronto.
Winnipeg.
Yeah, and that just happens because they hate each other.
It just happens because they hate each other. Now, they did stick them in a division in a very unique situation where they had to play like 9 times. But they hate each other. And it's great. And you know it's only coming twice a year. There's one in Toronto, there's one in Winnipeg.
Makes it special, doesn't it?
Makes it special. Makes it special. The Leafs Canucks a few years ago.
Oh, that was great.
Mhm.
But they played in like October, and then the air was out of the balloon when they played again in March.
I was at that game when they went back to March.
Oh,
They
yeah?
had the big
Oh, that's
fight.
right.
Remember, I was there. Yeah,
That's
and
right.
then they had the big fight in the fall.
Matt
and
Martin, Eric Branson
Yeah.
was the follow-up.
then they went out west, and it was a limp performance by everybody.
Yeah, well, I mean, you don't know when those are going to happen, but they
Right.
happen organically, is I guess what I'm saying. You can't force it. I kind of think, like, geez, it's the NHL. They practically become friends the more they play each other.
How would Kaprizov react in a tense playoff series?
He's great in the playoffs.
I don't. Depends. Is he interested?
Oh, he's interested. Come on. Let's.
He better be
been great
interested.
in
He's keeping my fantasy team alive. No, I just think. Sorry, like I know I'm gonna get lit up for that Kaprizov rant.
I don't know.
Try.
I don't know that you necessarily are. I don't think you're wrong. I think there's a lot of people who work very hard every day at jobs they don't love who are going to look at that and go, "Yeah, just take a shot, man, or skate fast for a bit."
Sorry, when you're good, sometimes you get named to the All-Star game and you can't go on your little trip.
Something that was also a little awkward at the All-Star game is, and Jesse, you talked about this in the Jesse Blake Sports Report about the All-Star who they're bringing. So the Kraken didn't have a representative.
Yeah, you're talking about have this matter. You want guys to show up. The Kraken said no. They had their representative pull out, and then they went to the Kraken and they said, okay, so can we get any one of these number of guys to show up? And they're like, no, they already had vacation books and they're not canceling.
So you can just say no.
Yeah. Darlene, on the other hand, was asked to cancel his vacay, and he did, and he went in Tage Thompson's place.
Good for him.
The reason I brought
Good
this up,
for him.
and by the way, Darlene deserved to be there too. He's
did,
been amazing.
Good for him.
Bo Horvat. I mean, don't tell me. First off, this Lou Lamoriello. Stop believing everything this guy says. Okay, Lou Lamoriello likes to put on a show.
Yes.
The reason he holds back contract details, the reason he won't tell you that he signed somebody until they knock on the door at camp in September, is because he likes the attention. He likes the eyes on his team. The Islanders have a ton more spotlight on them now because Lou's their GM, because of the way Lou does things. He just doesn't do things in the normal PR way. He does things that piss you off. Now, some people were upset about this, but Bo Horvat's deal was obviously signed on All-Star weekend. Lou Lamoriello did not have to tell you that they'd signed an extension until next September. It's like, where's Bo going to go? Is he still a free agent? We don't actually know. He's an Islander. We don't know.
Yeah.
But
We're
Lou
lucky the Islanders released how many years it was.
Lou chose to release it on All-Star weekend. Why?
The pageantry.
Of course. Now, unfortunately, I think it fell a bit flat, the All-Star weekend, so it didn't do Lou any favors. But Bo Horvat's deal, spectacular for Bo. Some people are a little bit concerned, including potentially Lou himself, who said it was too long and too many years when they asked him about the terms. Elliot Friedman, I think, had them in a heartbeat.
Yeah, it was very shortly after.
But a lot of people were upset about Lou saying that. And I have to tell you, as a person that enjoyed Lou Lamoriello's time in Toronto despite some of the bad contracts, I thought that was the most honest I've ever seen him ever in an interview.
Yeah, it was a little odd, right?
Like, that is, Lou usually says what?
Nothing.
But he says it
Oh,
in
sorry. He
essay
says
form.
an encyclopedia worth of nothing.
Right. If there was Encyclopedia Britannica, but it was Nothingica, Lou could have written it. And he can do an entire essay. I remember reading a Jonas Siegel article, and I felt bad for Jonas because Lou's like, I think he was talking about like Mitch Marner, and they're like, "Is he going to play this year?" Well, he's got to get himself ready. So what has he said there? Fucking nothing.
No.
But Lou came out and said something honest, And I think this is going to lead into our next CBA conversation. Lou said it's too many years and it's too much money. Right?
Yeah. These are already the lowest paid players, out of all the major sports.
And I don't fault Lou for saying that because, when he got into the league, players were making $50,000. But and it's true. They actually were.
Team jacket.
They actually freaking were, though.
He's
That's
80 years old. You're not even wrong.
You had to give your jersey back at the end of the year. That's how cheap the NHL used to be. And they would take the number off, and I'm not kidding you, stitch it on somebody else if they needed to.
Lou was 40 in 1983.
There you go. So, I think that the next big issue in the CBA is going to be contract length, or one of the major ones. And I think they're going to come in and they're going to try to limit it to 5. And I've already seen people start to talk about it. And let me tell you this, man. What I think this may backfire on them. And I'll tell you why. So if you're an owner and I come to you with a proposal, it's like, okay, if we have this guy for 8 years, it's going to cost us $90 million or whatever Bo Horvat is, 87 point whatever it's going to cost.
Whatever.
Doesn't matter. But if we have him for 5 years, it only cost 8 times 5. Well, that's a lot better, or 8.5 times 5.
And
that's far easier.
It's far more likely he'll be good for the length of that contract.
Bingo, which the owners love.
Yes.
However, if they go that route, part of the reason that players go longer on their contracts is to bring the AAV down. And what players will not do if we go to 5 years is bring the AAV down.
I think I love your thought process on that, Adam.
You don't think I'm right?
I don't think you're right.
I think it's going to backfire on him.
I think the NHL will do to the PA what they always do to the PA and break them like a fucking horse. And they're going to take what they get. It'll be 5 years and less money because you're not good at this and we are. Fuck you.
Okay. Well, I disagree with you on that. And
I hope you're right.
I think it's natural because if you're a player and you're 25 and you're a free agent, right? You're the earliest you could possibly be. You played 8 years in the league, whatever it is. Okay. And you're looking at your next 5 years and that's the max I can sign. Well, I have no fucking clue what my knees are going to be like when I'm 30. What's my hip going to be like? Is my neck still going to be attached? Am I going to be the next Jack Eichel who has to get things fused together?
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is when the team says to me, we're going to give you a longer term deal so you bring the AAV down, I say no.
Can't do that, Adam.
And listen, let me tell you something.
Can't do that, Adam.
If
the cap is what it is, we can't afford you. I'm sorry.
If Bo Horvat couldn't have got that at least on the open market, then the Islanders wouldn't have paid it. But they know you got Bo Horvat at $8.5 million. Everybody's like, well, I don't know. That's a pretty tough deal it's a risky deal for the Islanders.
Open market, though.
Of course it is. On the open market, he's over 9, guys. He's over 9. Absolutely. It's 7 years.
As a free agent?
It's 7 years, but he's at least over 9.
Because you're adding Bo Horvat with no friggin' assets.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what it costs, right?
Yeah. So all that said, something to keep an eye on with the 5 years. Also,
the 5 years thing, I was like, oh, this is familiar because this is the exact same thing that happened in 2012. It was the contract. I was looking for the quote from Bill Daly from 2012. This is from December 6th, 2012, when Bill Daly said, max contract lengths are the hill I will die on.
And he died.
And he
died.
He survived the hill and he won.
Bill Haley. Well,
no, he won.
He won.
Oh, because
Adam, they were giving
yes, that's what they got it.
10, 11, 12, 13-year
right
deals.
Before, right? With the Parise and Super deals.
And now it's 8. But really, it's 7.
Why?
Because it's 8 with the team you're on. Mm-hmm. If Bo Horvat went to... That was another thing. So if he goes to UFA, yeah, I can get more. I can only get 7 years.
Yeah.
So can I really get more?
The thing about them declaring this in negotiation was that they ended up the victor. The NHL got the contract limit diminished down to 8/7 years. And
they'll do it again.
If that's the fight again, then they're going to do it.
I think it's going to be one of them for sure.
And they'll give them, we'll negotiate 5 versus 6. And the NHL will be like, see, we got 6. And the NHL will laugh and say we got him to 5.
Now, on the Horvat deal itself, Greg Wyshynski said 2 Horvat thoughts. Number 1, the great what if, how Lou would have paid JT Miller had the trade not fallen through. Cheaper than this, one assumes. So if you remember this past summer, the JT Miller to the Islanders thing was done. The trade leaked, and Lou called and said, we're not doing this deal now, which he's been known to do.
Yeah, JT Miller makes, 8 times 8?
I think it's 8 times 8.
And Bo Horvat is 8.5 times 8. They're virtually the same.
But there's no way that the Canucks in their current position could make that contract, could sign that contract. There's no way that's not a responsible thing. However, had they done the right thing and just traded JT Miller and signed Bo Horvat, they'd probably be in a better position right now. Because, at the end of the day, Horvat was the captain, heart and soul of the team, pretty tough loss. Now, number 2 from Wyshynski. After some chats, I think we are too focused on win now, Lou, with the Bo Horvat thing, and not enough on it's a 2-year-old arena and they need a contender. And I think that's interesting.
I don't see that as a win now thing. You signed Bo Horvat for 8 years.
I know, but you know that you're expecting Bo Horvat's best years to be the first 4.
You certainly hope so.
Yeah. So, it's like Tavares, right? Like, I mean, he's been amazing through this entire contract, despite a ridiculous head injury.
Mm-hmm.
But towards the end of that deal, and we're about halfway through it now.
It's going to be a problem.
Well, it may not be a problem. He just may not be the same player, and you were expecting the cap to go up and that percentage to go down. One
of the big considerations in not 100% going for it this year that I sort of left out. This is as good as Tavares is going to be for the rest of his career because time is undefeated. Not because he's bad. It's just next year he'll be a year older.
Mm-hmm.
Year after that he'll be even older.
Yeah,
and the year after that and the year after that.
I think what Greg is trying to say with a 2-year-old arena is it costs a lot to build an arena and you need it packed.
Yeah, and the way they're building the roster right now, they have a very old roster and a lot of long contracts. They are trying to win now.
For sure they are. For sure they are. And you need that playoff revenue, baby. You need that gate revenue.
Need it. Yeah, you got to make it.
And I mean, it's now worth, I think it used to be $2 million. I think it's $3.5 or $4 million per game.
Man, I'll shout you out on Twitter if I can remember your name. Damn it. But supposedly Ron Hextall had a quote where he's like, I'm not like totally interested in going all in for the Penguins. And this Penguins fan was furious because they're like, bullshit, you're not all in. When you gave Malkin and Letang, and I can't remember who else, those contract extensions, that was your commitment to going all in.
Jeff Petrie.
Yeah, they went and got Petrie.
Like, dude, every pick out the door. This Crosby and Malkin and Letang and Petrie and all these guys have not that long left in their careers. And when you extended them, you were committing to going all in. Go all in or suffer the consequences.
Bo Horvat enters the Islanders lineup and instantly becomes one of the youngest forwards on the team.
That is unbelievable.
What?
And he is 27 years old.
Can you just run through names?
I'll let you know. This is the based on cap hit. This is the top of the
By the way,
Islanders
Steve
lineup.
is so shocked he's put on his glasses to look over Jesse.
And
So that's how you know.
Almost all of these guys are locked up to next year.
Yeah, they are an aging team that is trying to win right now. It is Barzal, 25 years old, Anders Lee, 32, Brock Nelson, 31, Josh Bailey, 33, Pajot, 30, Palmieri, 32, Horvat, 27, Cizikas, 31, Matt Martin, 33, Ross Johnston, 28. And then we get Parise, who's 38, and Simon Holmstrom, who's 21. That's not a young team all in that forward group. And they're all locked up. Only one of those guys is a UFA, and it's the 38-year-old Zach Parise. Everyone else is signed through next season.
And they have one UFA defenseman at Scott Mayfield. That's it. Semyon Varlamov. Wow. Holy cow. And they got a lot of guys on IR too.
Yeah. The IR, there's Cal Clutterbuck, so he's 35 as well.
Ooh.
Oliver Wahlstrom, 22.
Hudson
Fasching, 27. Not a young team here.
Holy cow.
Richard Panik.
Still collecting a paycheck.
Yeah.
Panic at the Disco. Still here.
Let's go.
He's still here.
Good for him.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. So it's going to be fascinating to watch the Islanders. Now, Horvat gives them the thing that they need the most, which is power play scoring. I think they're 31st in the league in that. They can improve that a little bit. They're in. And just, if you're them, get in, because nobody wants to play the Islanders.
See, but the get-in thing with the East is who you kicking out. I don't think it's the Penguins. I don't know if it's the Caps.
Penguins are iffy for me. They're iffy. I mean, they should go in. They should be all in.
They're iffy to win a round. Right?
That's the thing.
I think if you get in, and yes, I know.
And we're idiots to bet against Crosby and Malkin. Let me just put my hand up and say that.
I agree. But you get into the playoffs, you got to at least have aspirations of going farther, right? Like, whether you make it or not.
Like Nashville's team last year, I mean.
Yeah.
We got here against Colorado. Yeah. I don't know if they had aspirations or they surely had dreams.
They
But
got in, and also their starting goaltender that carried them the whole season got injured.
Yeah.
What a disaster that was.
terrible.
Poor Connor Ingram.
Like, man.
remember we named an episode. I was right about Connor Ingram.
was right
and the
about-
next one,
I was
I was
wrong
wrong about Connor Ingram.
Like, UC Soros was their best chance of forcing it
Absolutely.
to 5 games.
But I mean, I think that's the same with any starting goaltender, right? I mean,
Sure.
it's, to be fair.
But
To be fair.
we're not making enough about how we're going to get a great run to the playoffs in the Eastern Conference, because Florida, New York, Islanders, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Washington.
Oh,
So that's 60 points to 54 points. That's 6 points that separates all of those teams fighting for those 2 final wildcard spots. We're going to get a really good race.
and you know what?
and Florida's not pulling the chute.
No, they,
Oh,
they
no.
have to go
They don't
for
have
it.
a first-round pick.
Kevin Adams has to reward the Sabres.
I agree.
He has to reward the Sabres. Now, it can't be an all-in thing. You got to build for the future, but go get a Karel Vejmelka or, I mean,
Demko.
Demko?
Demko would be
all-
awesome.
Oh, that'd be sick.
Out of all of the teams in the East right now competing for a spot, they all have a positive goal differential except for Florida, and Buffalo has the highest one.
I don't know how you deny
Buffalo's
the Sabres.
the highest scoring team in the league right now, I believe, or second.
What?
In terms
They're
of
so
goals
excited.
for. Let
It's
me
crazy.
check.
The highest, not in the league.
Yeah.
Stop it, Jesse
triple
Blake.
check that. Stats by team on NHL.com. Goals for the Buffalo. Boston. No, goals for per game. They're third. They just fell back. Goals for per game. They're behind Edmonton, then Boston, then Buffalo.
The fact that there's any team that's ahead of Edmonton in goals for.
Seattle's 5th.
Oh, and in straight goals for as well. It's Boston, Edmonton, Buffalo. Yeah, one of the highest scoring teams in the league. Top 3. Buffalo
Crazy that
Sabres.
Florida is 4th and they have a negative goal differential. Florida is 4th in goals for in the entire NHL and they have a -5 goal differential.
I mean, speaking of teams that should probably be in on Vejmelka. Or some sort
What
of
do you give them?
goaltender.
No.
Your first round this... Oh, no. Next... Oh, no. The year after... Oh, no. Yo, it's dire straits in Florida. You have to
Straight
make the
up,
playoffs.
that Sherrod deal was a mess for them. What a
Dude,
mess.
Dude, unprotected a year ahead of time.
Just maniacs.
Kent Hughes.
You got to be... Yeah, Kent Hughes is a G for that.
Yeah.
I want to say that the East is going to be a lot of fun to watch this year, which is going to be nice because last year it wasn't. It was all kind of decided and fart.
It's
Now,
the total opposite,
If you're speaking directly from a Leafs perspective, people are like, there's no excitement. Well, here's what I will tell you. Toronto, everybody's like, well, they're 5 points ahead. Yeah, they've played 4 more games. Tampa Bay, if we're going by points percentage, is ahead of them.
Tampa, by points percentage, has
So that's
home
interesting.
ice. And go look at their last 10.
8-2-0, Steven. That's even better than the Boston Bruins, who are 7-2-1. Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
Damn.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting finish here. It really is.
Yeah, this whole thing about the Leafs have nothing to play for. They're locked in.
Bullshit.
I mean, we know who they're playing, but they have a lot to play for.
Maybe.
No,
like,
okay, sorry.
maybe they play Tampa.
If anybody has said that, I haven't seen it, but if anybody has said the Leafs have nothing to play for, guys, they've never made it out of the third. They haven't made it out of the first round since I was in grade 10. They got stuff to play for.
Yeah. No, I think
There's lots.
they have nothing to play for up until the playoffs.
Oh, they're wrong.
That's what
You're wrong.
that's the narrative that's
Leafs-
going on. I feel like a lot of people are checking out of the regular season this
It's-
year for the Leafs because they think it's just chalk. They think like, oh, this is it, and then everything's kind of just we're gonna see how we get in the first round.
It's kind of part of the reason I think they need to make a sexy move. Like, people were laughing at our Sam Lafferty segment. Like, they need to make a sexy move to get, like, casuals to be like, oh, sure.
Bro, I'm
maybe
not-
I'll watch the Leafs.
I'm not excited about Sam Lafferty. Let me just say that. Some people were like, hey, you're excited about really Sam Lafferty? I'm
That's
like,
not
I'm
what
not.
we said.
His name's been floated. I'm just going off of the rumors, the same rumors that you read, but I'll be honest with you, I'm not excited about
But I feel like the average Leafs fan this year is kind of like, all right, I'll get to the playoffs. Like I've seen
want
this story.
it. Timo,
I
Rock'em
don't know.
Sock'em, Robots, Meyer. That's what I want.
Why not?
Yeah.
Connor
I do.
McDavid.
Does that
Make the
excite
deal.
people to watch the games again?
You
Yeah.
want to see a player like that fit in, and I want to see him steamroll people and play with Tavares or Matthews and whoever else.
I know a lot of people aren't going to like this, but if the Leafs go out and get Max Domi, a shitload of people are tuning into that.
Well, sure.
A shitload of people
he's
are
a Domi.
like,
It's Toronto, of course.
and like the odds of him fighting in his first
Are
Leaf
100%.
game in Toronto are a million.
We'll put the bet up on Sports Interaction. You'll win 2 cents.
Easily. He's going to get a Gordy in his first game.
Absolutely.
And the fan base will all get rabies.
Flip over itself.
Like they will turn into The Last of Us. We'll all become clickers by the end of the first.
Not a bad,
it'll be ravenous.
not a bad season on a terrible Chicago team.
Nope.
14 goals, 21 assists.
But that's the rumor. Apparently, they want to keep him.
Alexander Galchenyuk.
They're talking about an extension.
Alexander
in December.
Galchenyuk was like a what? Like a 0.75 points per game player on the Leafs second line. You're telling me Max Domi can't do that shit?
He can do it.
Yeah, he can. Yeah, he can.
By the way, Alex Galchenyuk, there's a guy that should have stuck with a good thing. Where is he now? He went to instead of signing in Toronto, he went to Arizona. What's he doing?
So he's with Colorado's minor league team, and I believe I can't remember if he signed a contract or not. Has he signed an NHL deal?
I can check for you.
Because I believe the plan with him was he signed a PTO with them. They were going to sign him, and then he got hurt. He's been playing with the Colorado Eagles, and then they're either going to sign him or they have signed him. Is he under contract?
Yeah, it looks like he has a $750,000 contract
With Colorado.
with Colorado. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think they'll call
That's a
him
playoff
up
guy.
at some point. I hope. Well, or at very least get through it.
I mean,
Guy.
unless he's playing
They
right
still
now.
have to make the playoffs.
All I'm saying is that Alex Galchenyuk had a second line spot in the NHL and said, "Nah, I prefer."
He had a sweet deal and he fucked it up.
4 games he's played this year, -3, no points.
Dude, play
Colorado's
one
nothing
full season in Toronto, put up 50 points, which would have been no problem for him, and go cash in.
Hey, if you think you know which way it's going to go, make your bet at Sports Interaction, guys. Super Bowl 57.
What is that?
Woo!
You never heard of the Super Bowl?
No.
It's a bowl and it's super.
I've never heard of
You
57.
should check it out. You can get all the action at Sports Interaction. Pre-game, live and play. Prop bets are great. My favorite one is the Rihanna one. Which song is she going to lead with? And I think there's a healthy debate to be had about it. Sports Interaction makes it easy to deposit, play, and cash out. Join now to see all that sports betting has to offer. If you want to bet, it's sportsinteraction.com/STPN. Or in Ontario, you can download the app using the QR code on your screen. 19 plus, please play responsibly. Our next product, pretty cool. Jesse's a bit of a disciple, not going to lie. It's Athletic
every
Greens.
morning.
Every morning.
Every morning.
Now, does it keep you regular, Jesse?
Like my bowels?
Yeah.
No, it's
I'm going to ask about your butt.
It's more about gut health.
Listen,
I
we're
find.
close enough. I can ask about his butt.
The prune juice is for the bowels.
Oh, okay.
The AG1 is for your gut health. And like I feel like it really regulates that.
75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to start your day right. Jesse,
Yes.
if you were keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free, or all, you could take this.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm not, but good to know.
I
Also
sit next to Jesse all the time, never farts.
Yeah, never does, unless he's had cheese, which does not exist in this.
I gotta suck them back in.
1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals, artificial anything, and it all tastes great. So if you want to try it out, we want you to reclaim your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/SDP. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/SDP to take ownership of your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
That's the suck.
This show is brought to you by BetterHelp. Now, we've talked about this many times before. Mental health is extremely important to the three of us personally. We've all been to therapy. We've all had a lot of work to do on ourselves. And it's one of those things that when somebody comes to you and says, I'm considering this, I think I said this last week, usually they're well past the point of, I really need this, right?
Yep.
And it's going to make your life better. And I highly recommend it. Steve and Jesse do too. What do you think's the thing that you got the most out of it?
Ooh, coping skills.
Yeah.
I would say like just in therapy is where you go to learn how to fish. They don't give you a fish. They teach you, man.
I see what you're saying. Okay. So if you want to check it out and you know, the great thing about BetterHelp is that you get it matched with somebody very quickly, which can often be a challenge. You can do it over text. You can do it over phone. You can do it over FaceTime. We want you to live a more empowered life, and therapy can get you there. Visit betterhelp.com/SDP to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/SDP.
Hey, I'm S.
And I'm Lauren.
And this is the Objective Basketball Podcast.
We've got your hot takes, objective takes,
And maybe even some bad takes that we'll regret later. But you can find us everywhere, streaming on all platforms. The first guy to average 25, 8, and 6 in NBA history to not make an All-Star game.
And if I'm Toronto, I want Herb Jones. That's who I want. But everything that I hear about New Orleans and how much, I mean, they love Herb Jones so much. And so in my mind, I don't see him. He could get moved. I'm not going to say something's impossible because I learned that lesson.
The Objective Basketball Podcast, delivering the NBA to you like no other.
Jesse, there's something I sent you on text that I want you to run up here.
All right, while I do this, can I do Colorado Avalanche trivia?
Please do. Yeah, hit us up.
Who is the general manager?
Oh, it's not Joe Sakic.
Oh, that sucks. Drew's going to kill us.
You piece of shit.
Drew's going to kill us.
Is his name Scott?
No.
Fuck.
I have no idea.
Oh, wow. Just tapping out?
I straight up don't know.
All right. His name is Chris McFarland.
Ah!
I don't
He's the
think
Bobby
you knew
Webster.
that.
I remember
hockey.
talking about it.
Yeah.
That's a great comparison, actually.
Nobody knows who the Raptors GM is.
No.
I met Bobby Webster once.
Nice
What was
man.
it like?
Really nice guy. I got to interview Masai. This was like well before the championship. Also awesome. Really like good people. Nice.
Is Bobby Webster tall?
No. He's like normal height.
Like 5'11"?
Taller than me.
Yeah.
I'm 5'11". He's in the sixes.
So he's in this. You have to be.
Yeah.
He's in
Why?
basketball. You got to be at least 6 feet tall.
No, I don't. I don't think you do.
Yeah, you
Who's
do.
the GM who wore his pants up near his shoulder blades for Michael Jordan? Michael Jordan's GM. That guy was short.
We always
Yeah, but they all hated him.
Yeah, but he
You
was a
guys
good
always bring
GM.
this guy up.
They won a lot of championships. Pissed a lot of people off too.
Wore his pants up by his
He
shoulder
did. He's like
blades.
a 1950s suspenders
Jerry
guy.
Krause.
Jerry Krause.
Jerry Krause.
Yeah.
It's like the 8th time we brought up Jerry Krause on
Man,
the show.
there needs to be a documentary on Jerry Krause.
That picture's horrible.
He was so interesting in that documentary. No one talks about that, but I feel like Jerry Krause, for me, I'm like, who is this guy who's like, sorry, Michael, we don't want you anymore. We're done with, we'd like, who was it? Tony Kukoc instead of you. You know, like, it's just like
There
weird.
is
man.
no flattering picture of Jerry Krause on the internet.
I would sue Google.
Jesus.
That one's fine.
But this one?
Yeah, that
that
one's
one's good. Okay, we'll use this one.
fine. Yeah, we'll use that one. There you go. There you
There you
go.
go. Let's be nice to this man. There you go. It's a decent picture.
Listen, we didn't take the damn pictures. We just Googled it.
I'm afraid to show the Google image search because they're all just not very flattering.
Mean.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So Jesse, can we bring this up because I would like
I
to
got it.
rabble.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Can we rabble?
Adam wants to get mad.
Let's get mad. Let's all get mad. What tweet is this, Jesse? Read this tweet from this horrible man.
Elliot Friedman tweeted on February 4th that the NHL officially announces Toronto as host of the 2024 All-Star Game. Mike Rupp of Agent Provocateur replied to the tweet and said, "What a perfect way to celebrate Austin Matthews as his farewell tour comes to a close."
And then posted a video later that night, which I
Yes.
refuse to play, Mike Rupp.
4,100
I'll
likes.
play
All right, here we go.
Here is the video he posted in response to his tweet about Austin Matthews.
345,000 fake Twitter views because their algorithm's terrible.
Yeah, scroll past isn't a view, Twitter. You are jacking your numbers for advertisers, and that is a lot.
Stop jacking it, Twitter.
Here's the video.
Good evening, everybody. I just want to apologize. I totally forgot. Willie Nylander will be part of that farewell tour as well. So that's it. Good night.
He's having fun.
Yeah, Mike Rupp used to be on the early 2000s Devils, which means he revels in upsetting Leaf fans.
We're an easy group.
Yeah, oh, it was such an easy group. And he already saw earlier in the season, all right, talk about Austin Matthews equals profit. And he just just playing everyone like a fiddle.
That's how business works. You talk about Austin,
Underpants?
you get money.
Question mark? Profit.
Why do you have the All-Star game in Toronto? Because you talk about the Leafs positively or negatively. It's just automatic everything.
It's dynamite.
He also retweeted Andy Petrillo, who was saying, highly entertaining watching people in Toronto go from mocking the All-Star weekend to getting stoked about it for 2024.
Oh, Andy tweeted that too?
So that was the tweet that you were talking about earlier.
Well, that wasn't the one, but
that wasn't the one?
that,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Andy, it could be separate, I think.
Andy said it just goes to show it matters to the host city.
Well, yeah, I don't think we've never denied that.
Yeah,
never denied that. It's just it was a fart. This All-Star game was a fart.
I thought we had a pretty good conversation about how it's cool that the All-Star game is coming to Toronto, and also I simply hope the players try.
Yes, I think that's fair. Now,
Yes, but-
Mike Rupp. Can we rabble about Mike Rupp for a
Sure.
second? Leaf fans. Leaf fans.
Mike Rupp, who's on the NHL Network.
That's right.
And hosts a podcast.
That's right.
So we shout
Scored a
out.
And
Stanley
Mike's-
Cup winning goal.
And he's also a former Danbury Trasher, and I think that's important.
Yes.
Okay.
And most importantly, agent provocateur.
Well, that's right. He was one of our guests. And Mike is a really, really fun guy. And he's fucking with you. And I think Brian Burke, I'm going to go back to that one thing that he said at Sportsnet when he was working there. The most important moment of Brian Burke's broadcasting career was when he said, I think Austin's going to Arizona at the end of his contract. That's the most. Brian Burke lives in our heads, Leaf fans. Lives in some of our heads. Not all of us believe that. I happen to believe that. I know Arizona's trying to get their shit together for when he's there, but to be honest with you, maybe he does it towards the end of his career, but I think the Leafs are a pretty good spot to stay in. And
then he's going to center a line with Artemi Panarin on his wing.
That's
He's gonna
right.
play
In New York.
Yeah.
Start spreading the news.
Matthews is going to make a great Ranger.
I think that I think that you gotta stop letting people get your goat like this, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll say this about Leaf fans, good or bad, we are what everybody says we are.
Absolutely.
And passionate is the key, but good and bad, when we're the most annoying fan base, of course, there's more of us than anyone else.
Yeah. And when Matthews resigns here, you can hit him with all your memes. Pack watch, Rip Bozo. Cope. Cope harder. Hey, Mike Rupp, how about you simply seethe? Kids are mean. Kids are very mean. How about you simply seethe and also cope harder?
Yeah, if you get to troll Leafs fans right now, you better expect to get it back when he actually resigns.
Oh, I'm sure you. But here's the thing about Mike is that's what he's hoping for.
Oh,
when Austin signs that extension, and I think it's going to be July 1st, 2023. That's my bet.
Mm-hmm.
I think the extension's already agreed to. I have no information on that, but I that is my bet.
Steve, can you give an impression of a angry, or I guess joyous Toronto Maple Leafs fan on Twitter dunking on Mike Rupp the day the contract is signed? And you are 15.
Oh, and I'm
that's
15.
tough.
So you have no bearing for what actually happens in the world, and you might be a little unhinged.
Okay.
Also, feelings don't matter because you can't empathize with people yet.
You don't understand that adults have feelings and life happens. You're just 15.
Hey, Rupper, you bald bozo! How about you cope and also seethe? Pack watch, you friggin' squid! You lose! Clown emoji, skull emoji, diagonal laughter emoji, straight on laughter emoji, diagonal friggin' laughing emoji again. Old man.
Steve, is there a cap? Or is there no cap?
Oh, yeah. Also, you said he would sign somewhere else, and that's 40 cap emojis. Also, they're 15, so they don't. I hope your dog dies.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, you got to see
now
something
you got it.
personally cruel. You're right. Yeah, you're right.
I hope your legs break
I
tomorrow.
hope your legs break, and also you're ugly.
All right, now we need a Boston Bruins fan if they eliminated the Leafs again.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, can you just replay that?
Just Pete Blackburn. Everything Pete Blackburn tweets.
Yeah.
Pete Blackburn's going to have a field
I'm
day.
in your fucking walls, Rupper. I'm in your head. I'm in your tree.
Can we ISO this and just send it to him? on Twitter?
Yes, no
No, the
contest.
day he signs the contract.
Yeah.
We have the clip now. We have to hold
Now
on to this for a
we
year.
got to hold back the clip.
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah,
Okay.
1 year from now, we'll send
Okay.
it out.
Oh man,
That's fun. Hey,
I remember when kids just laugh behind your back, and now they like edit videos together and shit. There's like production value to bullying.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
can I ask you guys a question?
There's like an effort from like 80 bot accounts to also retweet their tweet, and it's intense, these
like-
kids.
Trip hop, friggin', there's all these flashing lights and animation, and
They start a whole YouTube channel just to shit on you.
you gotta like have like Adobe Premiere to be a bully these days. It's crazy. The nerds have taken over. You're analog.
Okay.
That's an old commercial you see.
So I have a question that has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but I'm going to move our subject. Okay,
Is
guys?
it that you're coping and seething?
I want to call out Steve for spilling water.
He did.
It's not that I spilled it, it's that the straw faces downward. So I'm trying to... I didn't spill it on the mixer, Jesse! How about you cope and seethe harder? You big loser! Is it better being a loser up there? Diagonal laughing emoji times 40?
Is Cope and Seethe the title?
That is
Cope and seethe!
Okay.
You didn't give enough names. You know,
What?
Well, no, he didn't want to say something like horrible. Because if you're going to be 15, you have to say something that's so reprehensible that as a 30-year-old, you go, oh my God, I can't believe I wrote
They're
that
like-
on the internet.
By the end of
Because
it,
when you're
I want to
15
make sure your mental health is deteriorating by the end of it.
Yeah, like it's so like it's very because again you're 15 and you don't have the ability to empathize.
I remember just... Can't you just call me a bum?
Yeah, no.
No, not anymore.
No.
So
Cope and seethe.
I don't know how much you guys put into this, but I think there might be something here. And we have heard. What have we heard about the Leafs that's been surprising, especially on the CJ show?
They want a defenseman instead of a forward.
There it is.
Interesting. Now, what kind of defenseman do you think they would want? Like a if you could give an archetype, what would it be?
A big one who brings to the table some of the things that Jake Muzzin brought to the table that they are lacking on account of they lack.
Now,
Jake
who could
Muzzin.
that even be?
A Sioux Greyhound.
Also a Sioux
McCabe.
Greyhound. Jake McCabe. Jake McCabe would be good, right?
Yeah.
Is he Muzzin-like? Muzzin-esque for people that are not familiar and don't watch every Blackhawks game?
I mean,
He's an analytics,
there aren't a lot of Muzzin types in the league, so I suppose yes.
but not at maybe as hard edge as Jake Muzzin.
I feel like he skates a bit more.
Would it
Muzzin
make
skating
sense-
was a bit of a weak point towards the end.
Would it make sense under any circumstance for the Leafs to bring in another guy who can play on the power play?
Have they done that?
No.
Who are you talking about?
Guys, there is a player. Now, let me ask you this. You follow your favorite player from your favorite team,
Okay.
and they take the team's name out of their bio. So, hey, I'm so-and-so, and I play for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah.
And there's been rumors about them for a while.
Yes.
So instantly you have to assume there potentially is a change coming here.
Mhm.
Okay? So that's number one. Number two, they follow the two best players and a few other family members and a local media person from the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Woo!
So this player followed Marner, Matthews over the weekend, followed 4 of the Domi clan, because Ty's got 3 kids, and
Sure.
Ty, followed Ty, and Nick Kyprios. Okay? And took their player name, or their player, like the team they play for, out of their bio. It just says, this person, athlete. Would you feel like there's smoke there? Is that smoke to you?
Yes, because it's boring to say no.
No, but is that no? But I'm asking honestly.
Yes. It to me would indicate, maybe not necessarily with the Leafs, but it would indicate that Jakob Chychrun is more likely to be moved than he was perhaps last week, because we were talking about Chychrun as an off-season thing.
And Jakob Chychrun is the player that did this. Removed Arizona Coyotes from his bio. Followed Matthew, Marner, the Domies, and Kyprios.
Matthews and Marner is interesting. That is rather interesting. I like that very much. And let me tell you,
And it's an odd. And also posted a picture in front of his Tesla wearing a Drew sweater, like Justin Bieber's brand.
oh my
So
God!
he probably like hung out with Matthews or something over the
Were they there?
All-Star
You
weekend.
know what? How about
Austin-
you cope and Seethe a little bit more?
Austin
How
didn't
about
go.
Jakob Chychrun going to the Leafs.
Because Austin didn't go to
Bozo.
All-Star Weekend, right? So maybe he was in Arizona, he ran into Austin, something like that. I would personally take nothing from it because I think about things like Fred VanVleet deleting everything off Instagram and unfollowing the Raptors and that stuff. And
You
usually,
need Michael Grange to ask Chychrun about that?
and then and what came out of it, he's like, I wanted less of that shit on my timeline.
Fair.
You know, I feel like people do things like this in terms of change their bio and unfollow, and that's the boring answer, 100%. But I
Yeah.
don't think it means Chychrun's coming to Toronto.
Cap emoji.
Listen, I know it sounds a bit gossipy,
Yeah,
but Jakob Chychrun is not a guy that I would ever expect the Leafs to be interested in. Just
I
based on the
disagree.
fact that they have, not that he's not great, of course, like,
Yeah.
you're going to add a great player to your roster, great. But the ask for Jakob Chychrun, considering what the Leafs need, is very different, right?
But to me, it's the cost control. So, like we talked about Bo Horvat on the open market. Chychrun is a UFA today. What does he get?
Oh, he's got to be 7 or 8.
He gets the Riley contract, honestly.
Yeah,
At least.
because
Because
he's younger too, right?
So if you're able to get him he doesn't even make $5 million and he signed for like the next 2 or 3.
Yeah. And
After
this
this?
is the last year of his. He can be traded anywhere. His modified no trade kicks in next year. And here's something:
Yeah.
a wrinkle the Coyotes will not love is that he's got signing bonuses July 1st of the next 2 years as well, and they don't. That's something that a team like that just doesn't need right now.
God, we need this. Dude, I was listening.
Would you be pumped about Chychrun?
No, sorry. Not necessarily for the Leafs. That'd be great. I would be pumped about Chychrun. Are you kidding? Like, it's Tyson Barrie didn't make sense for the Leafs because he's a power play specialist and they had that.
And Morgan
Right.
Riley had just come off 72 points. People forget that.
Yes. Like, to me, it didn't make sense. It was like,
He shoots right, I guess.
James Reimer drags the team to the playoffs. So you know what we need? A goalie. Where'd you get that from? Chychrun's just straight up a good player, right? So like he runs the power play because he's really good. You could bring him to Toronto and sure, why not? Have him run the, you know what? It might actually make sense for him to come to Toronto and run the power play because Morgan Riley is clearly just like dying out there and needs a rest a little bit and maybe needs to have some responsibilities taken back.
Well, maybe the injury is such that he can't fix it in season. And this is what I'm thinking is that if this, listen, we're extrapolating a lot from an Instagram account.
Yes.
But it's a podcast. What do you want? But I'm saying like, I'm trying to rationalize this. How does this fit? Well, if I'm Kyle Dubas, I love the cost control. You're absolutely right.
Yep.
He costs you the same as 2 Justin Hulls, right?
Goddamn.
And the other thing is that Riley, if he can't fix this injury in season, the Leafs power play must be good.
It has to be a factor.
It must. If they're going to play Tampa, you're going to have to score in the power play.
It hasn't
You
been
have
enough
to.
of a positive impact in recent years.
I would trade Riley for Chychrun 1-for-1 today.
I don't that's not even wild to say. I would trade.
I think most
like
people
he's
would
cheaper,
consider
he's
that.
younger, that's absolutely valid.
All right, so let's get it done.
Done. No, well, more realistically, it'll be like Sandine plus. Exactly.
I'd still do that.
No, Sandine.
I'd still do that.
Chychrun is
Chychrun's-
better.
If Chychrun's
Yeah.
on the table to come to Toronto,
You
Do it.
got it. You got to do it.
I would do that.
100%
I
get
would
it
do
done.
And then you could tweet a bunch of emojis and sideways laughing emojis at Oilers fans and tell them to cope because he's been rumored to go there forever and Ottawa.
More like the Edmonton Seethe.
Oh yeah, that Ottawa thing died real quick when they got bad.
Why?
But, like,
What? Yo, maybe they would have been better if they'd paid whatever the price was.
for
Which
the
is so
first
weird,
month
though.
of the season, it was Chychrun to Ottawa,
Yes.
and then it just kind of died.
But he's young and cost controlled. It's not a window.
Mhm.
That is just all 31 other teams should be in on him. All 31 other teams should want him.
Mhm.
That's why I think it makes some sense.
I think if you get Chychrun, you move off of Morgan, and that's beauty for the cap.
And I know I've aggressively changed my opinion on Chychrun from before because he was the number one trade target that we talked about all the time, and he hadn't played a hockey game in almost a year.
And now that he has,
And
and
now
you
that
know that his knees are okay.
We got 2 months of Chychrun playing hockey. It's awesome.
Incredibly, right? So yeah, I would absolutely. I'd love that player if he's available, but we haven't really heard him tied to the Leafs, so I haven't even bothered.
Acquiring Chychrun.
Yes.
Move out Morgan.
You think so?
Is that the ladder?
That's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen.
I think they would want
So I'm
them
not
both.
even entertaining it.
Oh, not entertaining. It's a podcast. Adam Wild said.
You know what? Clown emoji. Times 30. And also, I'm going to send it to your family members.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm 50.
If I'm dropping the Plinko disc down in the Plinko thing, and it bloop, 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 and it goes through Chychrun, acquiring him, and then Morgan trading him, are you happy?
Well, no, because I like Morgan as a person and I'd be sad. But like, if you then go, but Steve, is the team better? I'd mumble yes.
I think about the cap you're getting for the 2 years that you don't have Morgan and the 2 years you have Chychrun, and that
it's not
extra
just
money.
Even. Yeah.
Right.
It's Chychrun plus $3 million.
Oh, yeah. It'd be beautiful. Plus, he can fill that role if that's what you're looking for on the power play.
You could extend Engvall to $5 million.
More than that.
More than that.
Yeah.
How dare you undersell Engvall?
They can afford to bring
Daddy.
Martin Marincin back.
Yeah.
Oh, let's go.
Now, something else that happened that we should mention. A player that was cut by the Flames, who couldn't get a contract last summer, signed a PTO with the Flames, couldn't get that, signed in Washington when they stunk, had to clear waivers league-wide, just got a 3-year extension. Sonny Milano, 3 years at $1.9 million per season. I said it at the time. I'm like, I don't understand why he's available.
Yeah, but you know what he did to earn that contract?
What did he do?
He simply played like Sonny Milano because he's a good
The
player.
guy that the way Sonny Milano's always played?
Yep.
So here's my question.
Yep.
First off, congrats to Sonny. Great for the Caps. Great depth for them. That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Could Calgary not use a guy like that?
Sure could. No one...
and that's the coach's decision.
Did anyone... I don't know what Calgary's cap situation was at the beginning of the season.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder if it was simply a matter of nobody could afford Sonny Milano.
But here's the thing. He signed a PTO there.
Yeah.
So I would say to him, Sonny, we got $750,000. I'm sorry, but you're going to have to accept it if you want to play here.
I was about to say maybe he didn't want it, but isn't that what he ended up accepting?
Want it. Yes.
Well, then I don't know. I don't know.
He didn't. If I remember correctly, he didn't have the best training camp there, and that was a large part of the reason. Because the Calgary reporters were talking about how he wasn't performing well.
I think that's a coach thing.
But someone clever with the Caps organization was like, "What if 3 preseason games don't define this person?
Right.
And what if we use the body of work we have?" I bet he's a little bit more like that.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Sonny. Would you like to play with one of the best offensive teams of the last generation? I'm not talking this year's Caps. I'm talking about the Caps over the
guys
last
who've
20
done
years.
it.
Yeah. Yes, I could be convinced. Okay, cool. You're going to have to start in Hershey, and then you're going to come up, and then there's probably going to be injuries, and you're going to play on our power play, and you're going to kill it, and you're going to make several $1 million. Do you feel like doing that?
40 games, 22 points. Pretty solid.
Not bad.
12,
I thought
14.
you were going to go even further back and be like, what the hell happened with the Ducks?
That I
Because
don't
we
get.
were on that all summer
That's
too.
true. That
Like,
didn't make
the
sense.
three of
Do not
us were
understand
like,
that.
why didn't they just bring him back to play with Terry or McTavish or Zegras and just have that little crew running still? It was weird that they just gave up on it.
All their money on what's the
Hampus
defenseman?
Lindholm.
No.
Oh, John Klingberg.
John Klingberg. They
sorry.
spent $7 million on completely invisible John Klingberg. If this is the
yeah.
year that's supposed to get him that long-term extension, I don't know, man.
Ducks signed him forward to a multi-year deal, paying him $5 million per year.
Adam Henrique.
Nope.
I have no idea.
You have no idea. He signed $5 million per year.
He signed when he signed the contract. He wrote Dallas Eakins is going to lose his job at the end of the year.
Like you listening right now, do you know who it is?
I don't even. I can't think of it.
Ryan Strome.
Right away from New York.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That dude makes $5 million a year. You got like, what was it? 4 times 5? 5 times 5?
It was 5 years times $5 million. 29-year-old Ryan Strome.
Oh, baby. What kind of seasons is he having? I don't know anything about him.
He's at 25 points.
In what?
50 games. Sonny Milano has 22 points in 40 games. So Sonny Milano, way more points per 100
Like, I
million.
think the Ducks could have kept him and still been bad.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
There's also been...
I wouldn't have made the Ducks better.
You'd think for a guy that we all know is going to be traded that there would be more John Klingberg rumors, but it's been like silent.
Because the good teams that want a player like that
Don't need him.
have one.
Yep.
Your window was the summer.
31 teams didn't want him in the offseason at the number he wanted. Now still 31 teams don't really want him. It's odd.
This is the type of situation where I think I wouldn't be shocked if, and I don't mean to take shots at any other agent or whatever, but that's where you start to see like an agent change. Kind of like with Pacioretty.
Ooh.
Remember that in Montreal?
I sure do. Why? Who's he with?
Well, I'm just bringing it was big because he left Brisson, and Brisson's good friends with Mark Bergevin. I know how I sound.
Noted Alan Walsh client.
It just feels to me like that's like a missed opportunity big time.
We're not talking nearly enough about how Carolina is an enormous player at this deadline.
He did that. Remember, he fired his agency
Klingberg?
2 weeks into free agency when he couldn't sign. Yeah, hold on.
Wait, he's already done it.
Yeah, he did that.
So then they really did fuck up then.
You remember in the summer, he's with Newport.
Okay.
But he fired Peter Wallen on July.
Peter Wallen works for, I don't know. Independent?
I don't know.
See, that's really interesting because Klingberg was in rumors all the time before. Now he's not in any, and so I wonder if that's a philosophy of his camp. Listen, just shut the fuck up and play hockey, and we'll keep your name out of the headlines. And when you're traded, you're traded.
Peter Wallen's got a lot of Swedish clients. So, like for instance, Hedman, Landeskog, Jonas Brodin, Lindholm, Elias Lindholm, Marcus Pettersson. He's got really Mario Ferraro, really good contracts on the books.
Yeah.
Timothy Liljegren's one of them.
Hey,
wow.
So
he's with Wallen or fired Wallen?
He fired Wallen. And during the season, so we're trying to piece all this story back together, but during the season, Klingberg was offered an 8-year deal at $7 million by the Stars, and they turned it down. They go to free agency. They can't sign anything. He fires Peter Wallen. He signs with Newport. They sign the 1 year 7 with Anaheim.
Oh, no.
And then now he's there.
Yeah,
it
hasn't been a good year for
Where'd you get that?
That's, I don't know, hockey.
So here's going into free
horrifying.
agency. Could you have seen John Klingberg getting a 7-year, 5.5 per?
6.5
per 7 year
as a free agent, maybe.
Okay, so it's probably in that range.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at this and going, okay, now this year, after all that's happened in Anaheim, it doesn't mean that he's diminished but the reality is that your perception is your reality when it comes to some of these things.
Right.
Is he now a 5.5 times 7? Is he a 6.5 times 7? Is he somewhere in that range? Or is it more like, all right, John, you were shit in Anaheim last year. I know the team sucked, but I'm still not convinced. Like, are you going to hand John Klingberg a 7-year deal now?
You're talking about this offseason?
This offseason versus last.
So you're
like, how much has that diminished the years he could get?
Did John Klingberg miss his opportunity to make $7 million a year for 8 years? Like, did he ever get that again?
I don't think so. But the big asterisk there is if he goes somewhere, plays 15 really good regular season games, and they go on a long run and he's a big part of it, people are offering him like the Makar contract.
I don't disagree. I mean, Matt Bolesky got a 5-year deal, right?
Right, but are you
kidding?
So you're saying
like, he'll get a big deal.
Now he needs to go on that run because he needs to get traded. He can't do this again.
No, people will be like, okay, literally just ignore the season he had with the Ducks because they don't count.
Yeah.
They're not trying to win games.
And I think that's fair.
I think that's a fair point.
Yeah. And he goes to pull a name out of a hat, Seattle. Mm-hmm. And he goes to Seattle and he does a great job. The
Seattle Devils.
The Seattle Devils, and they make it all the way to at least the third round, and he's a big part of it. He's at least half a point a game, and he scores a couple timely goals, and he has a couple timely blocks. And
I think I
don't think he
and it seemed like Seattle could afford to keep him too.
Maybe.
Well, they got a lot of defensive money.
They do.
But they could move some of that out and keep a guy like Klingberg around if he became like. If I'm spitballing.
How about Seattle? When are they going to drop off? Seattle climbs the standings. Okay.
Klingberg, by the way, I'm interested to see if any of this leaks, but he submits a 10-team no-trade list on January 1st. So it happened at the beginning of this January. 10-team no-trade, and those are the only 10 teams he can get traded.
If I were him, I would simply only take teams that are definitely not going to make the playoffs.
What?
Like most of the time, it's all Canada. Like if it's in my list, most of the time it's just Canadian teams. Like I don't want to go to Canadian teams or Buffalo or whatever. We all get shoved in together. Sorry, Buffalo.
Yeah.
But if I were him, all of them would have been like all of my teams are non-playoff teams.
Adam,
right?
that's money arson.
What?
He has to go on a playoff run.
Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying. All the teams I would not want to get traded to are non-playoff teams.
Oh.
Did I say that wrong?
No.
I think
Or
we
was
just
it an
understood.
Australian thing?
I thought you wanted him to get traded to non-playoff teams, and I'm like, first of all, they're not trading for him. Second, you're crazy.
No. That would be wrong.
So the list he submits, Adam, isn't a no trade list. It's a 10-team list of teams he can be traded to.
Oh,
Yeah.
my bad. I misheard that.
Yeah. So the modified no trade clause, where he turns into a modified trade clause where he lists 10 teams he is willing to be traded
So
to.
it's a 22 team no trade list.
Essentially, if you want to word it that way, it's a 22-team no trade list. So we got to pick 10 teams where Klingberg could go, and I wonder if that list leaks somehow.
What's the top 10 teams? Those ones.
On the standings, yeah.
Okay.
Think Toronto's on that list?
I think they're on the list.
Maybe.
And the list of, not the no trade list, the 10 teams he can go
The
to.
yes trade list.
Yes.
The yes list. I like that. It's a lot more positive. No trade lists are so negative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like a positive
Why
trade.
does everybody do it this
Sure
way?
as hell I'd love to play with that city in front of those fans. That'd be great.
Imagine just not having that trade protection. I have a 32 team trade list.
That's what Jakob Chychrun has right
anywhere.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jakob Chychrun has a 32 team please trade me list.
Bo Horvat had one.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, listen, the one thing, before we get to the press conference, and I actually have the lead question of the press conference, Jesse. I'm going to jump in there with this, okay? But before we go, all you Washington fans, I'm thrilled about the Milano contract, but I'm sorry somebody beat you to the Gretzky record.
It was a...
Well, everybody's talking about Ovi beating Gretzky in terms of the total goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, your professional hockey leading goal scorer of all time is Jaromir Jagr as of this weekend.
He sure is.
Because Jaromir Jagr scored goal 1,099 at the professional level, breaking Wayne Gretzky's record of 1,098. Now, Gretzky did it in a lot less games and in a lot less leagues, too, compared to Jagr's, I think, 3 or 4.
And they were all top tier leagues, whereas Jagr's cannot argue that.
But he owns the team, so he can do whatever the fuck he wants.
Yeah.
And he's still playing, and God bless him. And I love it.
This was what I was saying a few weeks ago when I was talking about the Ovi, potentially all-time professional goal record and who even owns that record and what is the cutoff for leagues. Jagr's played in the Czech second league. Does that
He's
count?
getting paid. He's getting paid.
Okay,
counts.
Tony Hand got paid to play in Britain.
I got his numbers up.
Yeah.
Who? Tony Hand?
Tony Hand, 921 BHL goals,
Sorry,
65 ISL goals, 95 EPL goals.
Wait, what does that add up to? Don't make me do math.
I'll do it.
I'll do it on my phone. You do it. So it's Tony Hand, the all-time.
That's 1,081.
Wow.
So he doesn't even break Jagr.
So how many? Because he played an eternity. What was his first year?
A 1982.
82. And go look when he finished playing.
2015.
That dude finished playing hockey in the year the Leafs drafted Mitch Marner. And he began playing in 1982. He began playing 3 years into Gretzky's career. Wow.
So he doesn't break that. So your Tony Hand argument is out of the books. We can't do it.
Gretzky really
Gretzky beat Tony Hand.
I wonder if Tony Hand just kept going until he's like, you know what? I can't beat Gretzky.
I don't know. I think Jagr holds some sort of record.
Yeah.
Like, that's got to count for something.
Yep.
I don't know.
Okay,
I think it
Let's
does.
not diminish it. Because
at
it's League
very
Two.
least, the record should involve top tier leagues. If you want to count the Czech League, fine. The second Czech League, no.
Then how do you count any of Tony Hand's?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so we're not.
So I brought Tony Hand into it because I'm like,
But
okay,
I
if
think
we're
you
just
have to
counting
count. I think you
paid
gotta
for hockey,
You got to count Tony.
well, then the all-time shutout record belongs to some rent-a-goalie because those guys make like $100 or whatever. I maintain that rent-a-goalies are professional goaltenders.
They are. They're getting paid.
Those dudes make more than guys in the SPHL. They
By
do.
definition of the word professional, if you get paid for it, then you are that.
By the way,
correct?
if you're wondering why Steve is referencing the SPHL, this weekend, one of the SPHL teams in Danville,
SPHL Southern Pro Hockey League, I think.
where Vermilion County never showed up for its own home game versus Quad City. It's the basically the Quad City showed up. They did their warm up. Danville never did, and the rumor is that they could be folding.
I was about to say, like,
That's got to be the only record. But yeah, but they even they even lined up at center ice to make sure, and then it was counted as a forfeit.
So why didn't the other team show up?
they're probably folding.
They might
I
be
guess.
folding.
They just did not.
They didn't come. There's less than and the reporter that was following it, Ice Time Cleve, excuse me.
That would've been
He's been
better.
following for 40 years. He says he's like, this is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. And he said they've had a bazillion different owners and coaches and whatever, and there's like less than 400 people showing up per game.
So it's not.
So
it's
I know it's not profitable, and I think
Yeah.
it's at a certain point. Like, honestly,
Is the league folding or just the team?
Just
Just the team.
Oh, okay.
apparently.
Okay.
We're supposed to find out more today,
that
although I
sucks.
haven't seen it. There's no updates as of this recording.
That's unfortunate for a bunch
It
of
is,
guys
it's a
who
bummer.
just want to play hockey.
Yeah.
They haven't like tweeted anything about it.
Nothing.
or-
No.
Nothing as of this recording.
Aw.
So that's all I can
that,
say.
Adam had the video. The video of like the
It's
other
wild.
team just
They
skating
did the
around
national-
for warm up with no one there.
They did the national anthems, Jesse.
Can you send it?
Yeah, if you want. It's like a minute and a half.
Was it a home game
It's a home game for the team that forfeited.
for the team that forfeited?
Oh, it wasn't
Yes.
even like a road game.
No.
They didn't show up
Oh,
at their
'cause
home
I
arena.
thought
They didn't show up at their
If it
own
was the
arena.
home team,
Wow.
okay. So if they're not here for opening, say, can you see by the announcer? They should speed it up.
No.
But if you're the team who didn't show up's anthem singer, you got to do like
so the Vermilion City,
long
this is according
version.
to thecomeback.com. The Vermilion City Bobcats were supposed to host the Quad City Storm at the David S. Palmer Arena in Danville, Illinois. But while visiting Storm arrived and went through all the normal pregame routines, including lining up for the faceoff, something important was missing: their opponents.
Look at Buddy lined up at the faceoff circle. He's ready. They are ready. Guys on the bench.
According to Ice Time Cleve, they are 9-70-7 in a year in the last year and a half. 10 coaches. They only have 10 skaters left. Attendance under 400 per game. He says this was inevitable, meaning potentially they're full.
Read their record one more time.
This is Washington Capitals 1970s bad. 9-70-7 in the last 18 months.
9-70-7.
That is banana. Are they like? Is that guy doing a rookie lap? What's going on?
I think he's just skating around.
He's
doing
just
the
screwing
fastest
around?
lap. Yeah.
Look at
they're
that.
having fun.
You won.
By the way, Ice Time Cleve is Dave Aminian. If you're wondering, you might want to follow him for more SPHL drama.
I've never seen the home team forfeit.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's what makes it so dramatic.
They're
right?
saluting the fans.
Yeah.
Wow. That
And
is
honestly, if you look at the
very
video,
odd.
you'll see the video if you watch the video here. Do you see any fans? Like, there are no fans
Well,
I saw like
There's a handful.
5 people by the boards.
because they moved up.
Yeah. That was it.
Who's going to stop them? Yeah.
I want to hear from A, anyone who went to that game. B, was that your first game?
I hope not.
I hope
is
you didn't
wild.
pay for a ticket either.
I hope so.
Like-
What an incredible story
Yeah,
to tell.
I might be asking for a.
How did the
refund.
arena staff show up and everything?
That's
I
what.
assume
So this
so.
is what's so fundamentally
many more
frustrating about
questions.
this story is that it's underreported. Like no one has done a deep dive on
like,
this.
did the concession people show up and start serving concessions
fire
and,
up the
and
fryer?
take tickets, and then but the team didn't show?
So Dave Aminian, who's the reporter on it, he's like, this was inevitable. What was inevitable, Dave?
Where is
What
this?
was?
Where is this?
This is hang on. Quad City Storm, Vermilion County Bobcats. So Vermilion County which is in Danville, Illinois.
Oh, Illinois.
Danville, Illinois. All right. Danville, not as good as Danbury, apparently.
True.
When it comes
Vermilion.
to the hockey.
How far from Chicago is this?
Far enough, I guess.
I don't know.
What are we looking at?
We're learning places today.
We're not very good with geography.
Jesse, why are we supposed to know
so
that?
this is close. This is way out in the burbs. Holy cow! It's not even close to Chicago. It's closer to Indiana or Indianapolis. I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is middle of nowhere.
Okay, and last story. And you know what? We won't get to the press conference. And I'm sorry. We'll get back to this question. We had Ryan asked us a really good question in my Instagram DMs, so we'll have to get back to it. But I have to mention this one last thing. And Steve's already forgotten about it, but it's really good. I think it was last episode.
I did forget about this.
We talked about. Loch Ness. One of the episodes last week. I can't even remember which one.
Yeah.
And Steve talked about randomly how bad the roads are getting there.
First place I ever saw a car flip over live.
So here is from the pressandjournal.co.uk, the Scottish daily newspaper of the year.
All right.
Okay. This is Stuart Finley, who is actually a listener, and he's a Canadian.
Get out.
Who writes for them. And here's the start. The Steve Dangle Podcast is usually focused on the Toronto Maple Leafs, professional ice hockey in the NHL, and life in Canada in general. But to the surprise of anyone listening from the north of Scotland, a bit of shade was thrown at the road around Loch Ness in a recent episode. It's probably deserved shade. The A82's accident record has regularly seen it dubbed the most dangerous road in Scotland.
Oh, it's terrifying.
And it is particularly bad during the tourist season when the stretch between Inverness and Drummochit.
Oh boy.
Yeah, this is one of the is jammed with tour buses.
That's
lorries.
not a word.
Yeah. I don't know if that's Old Scottish or Old Welsh. I don't know. Drummochit? Drummochit?
I don't know. I don't know.
Travel between 40, they say lorries and buses traveling at 40 miles an hour and blind turns aplenty. And then Steve Dangle, who has 198,000 subscribers on YouTube and more than 54 million video views, said, "The most dangerous thing about Loch Ness is the roads. It's the first place I ever saw a car flip over live. The roads are wild, absolutely wild. It's full of locals going, speed up. And because it's 3 feet wide, you get flipped. I saw a guy climbing out of his window after the accident. You just keep looking at the water." So anyway, long story short, we'll tweet out. We'll link to the article. You want to go? You want to keep going?
No, read after the video's up.
Okay. Podcast co-hosts Adam Wilde and Jesse Blake are no experts on the area either. Asking Dangle if he had been to the town of Loch Ness gave that away. I don't know. Is there a town?
There's not.
We're
idiots.
But it's a good representation of how driving the A82 must feel to people not familiar with it, particularly if you're coming from North America, where roads are absurdly big by comparison.
All right, I think that's good.
Yeah. 50 people between 2010 and 2020 have lost their lives on the route. So it's crazy.
Between what?
For the decade between 2010 and 2020.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I thought you said from 2020
Anyway, so
now.
we were
still bad.
You were mentioned in a newspaper in Scotland.
That is wild.
What is it called?
It's called the Press and Journal.
I saw the car that flipped over, by the way, was not the only car I saw like damaged from an accident on the ride up there. And it wasn't a long drive.
Right.
It's just the way people pass you is so aggressive and there's so little room for error.
Right.
Those roads are horrifying.
I always find that too when you're driving a little car, and most of the cars in Europe are littler. You do some crazier things. Like my wife has a Honda Fit, and you do get into trouble in cars like that because they're just a lot of fun to drive.
So SL and I rent a car.
Okay.
To go to Loch Ness. Or no, this was I can't remember if this was the time we went to Loch Ness, but we went up the west coast of Scotland. It's beautiful and stunning, and I highly recommend it. Beautiful. You got to do it. However, don't cheap out on the car. We got the cheapest package. So imagine our surprise when they gave us a Mercedes.
Oh! Yeah.
Imagine our surprise. And it took 5-10 minutes driving on the road to realize why that was the cheapest car.
Because it's the biggest.
You do not want to be driving that big ass car on those tiny ass roads. So I'm sitting there in what is to me the driver's seat, but it's the passenger seat. And I'm just like, oh my God, because Sarah Louise keeps my poor little wife. She keeps edging over to my side and I'm inches from rock. And so I'm like, you're too close. You're too close. So she edges back to the other way, which is inches from oncoming traffic.
Yes. You know what I also find weird is that for some reason in the UK, they're like, automatic transmissions don't exist here.
Oh,
so not only are you going to do stick shift, but you're going to do it on the other side.
Oh,
what is the fascination with that?
Horrifying.
Just switch to automatic, guys. It's right there.
And so what she did, because we was it Glasgow? We did Glasgow to Aberdeen, which is far. Like we broke it up. Like we stopped at we stopped at a few different places. But I'm shaking like a dog in a thunderstorm at the entire ride. And finally she sees a sign for the Glenlivet Distillery. Mm-hmm. And she goes, "You want to go there?" I go, "Yep." So we went to the Glenlivet Distillery. I got a baked potato covered in haggis. It was delicious. Mm-hmm. And more importantly, drunk. So the entire rest of the drive, I was like, "You're doing great. You're doing great. I'm not even scared.
I can't blame you.
I'm not even scared. You're doing great." I was like falling asleep. Dude, that is as a North American, horrifying drive.
Well,
horrifying.
Listen, we'll get to Ryan's question next episode because it's actually really good.
Okay.
Really, really good question.
Good.
I've already sent it to Jesse, so he'll keep it.
In 2 days.
Yeah. And we got a lot happening this week, including, if you're into the NBA, the Objective Basketball Podcast. Those
so good.
Guys are killing it, and there is a lot more fireworks coming. And then, of course, it's the NHL trade deadline right after. And I don't know, Chris Johnson works at this network, so...
Woo! And also...
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Connection complete.